Yeah, don't say anything else.
Hey guys, Bobby Thompson here with another episode of Jiu-Jitsu and Coffee. And today our guest is Colin Taylor from Jacksonville, Florida, part of one of Luis's brown belts. And wanted to do our kind of spotlight on Jacksonville and introduce everyone to Colin Taylor. So
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Hey, Colin.
Hi, Colin.
So
He's cool.
man, when did we start training together, Colin?
Man, I would say it was towards the end of when Jason Backlund had his school, and when he started introducing me and Ray Donnelly to you, talking about like real Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and putting on the kimono and all that stuff. And basically, I think he brought us over there one day, and we gave it a shot and kind of saw that there's a lot that from the technical stance that we can't achieve at all doing no gi. That we kind of, if we wanted to evolve, we needed to put on the gi, and not only would it help shape us in the way of looking like someone who does jiu-jitsu, and by that I mean just someone who has that the stance, how they stand, or just generally how they can approach a matter, because when jiu-jitsu, you kind of just know that in the back of your mind, like, I have that background, that plan B, to always be like, okay, I can kind of deal with any situation, I'll be okay. But going back to that, after we saw that, I think we trained a few more weeks with Jason and all that, and then, me and Ray kind of decided that it was time to move on, join up with you at your school. At the time, I think we were behind the Budweiser loading facility.
Yeah, this old school right there.
The Beach Boulevard?
Yeah, off of Beach, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember training there with Juliana Bense and, let's see, a few others, Henry, of course.
Yep.
And
Ray, who would have been phenomenal if he would have stuck with it, just...
Man, I still think to this day he's one of those people that he could jump in it right now, and he'd take maybe just a week or two to get his cardio back, and then he'd be killing people. Like, I just know.
Yeah, he's always, even when he rarely trains, when he comes in and does train, it's an absolute battle. That he's just a tough.
But speaking dude. On him, like, if you really want to get down to it, he was the first person that ever introduced me to jiu-jitsu, because at the time, probably around like 18, I was in trouble with the law, and I wasn't able to leave my house or go do anything besides look for a job and go to school. Well, just kind of sitting on your ass, not really doing anything. Started, get kind of fat and chunky, and I was like, man, I don't really like, being like this. Like, and he came over one time, he was like, hey, man, I've been trying out this jiu-jitsu stuff. Like, we need to, I need to show you this. We need to try it out. So basically, he brought over puzzle mats and just beat my ass for a couple of weeks.
Weren't you guys doing like, and real quickly, before I jump to one subject, by the way, Colin touched on Jason Backlund, who I have I hold in super high regards. He's a phenomenal instructor, like a red belt, and I always butcher like his jiu-jitsu. I think it's called like Kobushinkai jiu-jitsu, but he's also a brown belt under Master Palhares, and he was also a black belt in judo and competed in judo, and he was also a black belt and he was a kickboxer who competed in kickboxing. And
that was one of the funnest things to do, because I don't, I've broken my hand twice. I don't really do stand up, so I would always be fun to watch him and Ray and like, even Jeff Jones and Zach Cardwell, like all of them, when they used to like go at it back in the day. It'd be so entertaining to just watch him like take it easy, like put him, pop, boom, and just nail him. Dude, it was so fun to watch.
Yeah,
some great battles then back in the day.
I went and watched Ray fight, man. I think it was his first fight. I don't know if he fought.
I believe.
Yeah, in Valdosta, I was there for that, and Mike DeBartolo fought, and who was just the best wrestler I'd ever seen in my life. Did you ever get to train with Mike DeBartolo?
Yeah, dude, he's an animal. Like his hand felt like he could take half my face and just lift me up like that, and I would just be like.
Yeah, he was the 1% of wrestling. He was a D1 wrestler out of Ohio State, and it was normal. What blew my mind is, to this day, I've never puked training. No matter how hard I roll, this guy would puke daily. Like he would push his body to the
Mm-hmm.
limits. Like it was a normal day for him.
That's crazy.
I got to train for him for 3 years because he started training with me at WMA, and I learned a lot about wrestling from him. Like he when I first started training with an elite wrestler like that, there were major holes in my game that he changed my game, right, as a result of, and that's how we learned. Just like you have the luxury of training with Stewie, who obviously can, you can't deny that the game grew from that, right?
Man, when I met Stuart, like even bringing in Stuart into the picture, like that's probably one of the funnest people to roll with. He's the self-proclaimed wrist lock leader of the Church of Wrist Locks, and that's cool. It's, that's
The
fine.
Church of Wrist
He
Locks.
can be. That's perfectly. That's him. But dude, I've never met like someone like literally that large of an individual that can move so fast.
It's
It's
two-time like
it's scary.
Two-time, I want to say NCAA wrestling champion. Like I think it was like D2 or something, but like a two-time national D2 champion.
It was for the school here, one of the colleges here. I think you'll never finish something.
UNF? Yeah, I think UNF,
yeah.
yeah.
You'll never finish. That's terrible. But no, like he's a phenomenal wrestler. Like I hate dealing with him no gi. It really it sucks. Like if I can't, if I'm not able to invert under and spin, if he just flattens my hip, I'm doomed.
When he came to the school as a purple belt, and I was a little heavier then and younger, when he started, he actually lived here for a little bit, like for maybe 6 months or something, and he taught me how to play chess. Really, he was a chess champion of his high school. He's really intellectual. Even though you look at him and he looks like Mr. Incredible, right? Like he's freaking 245 pounds of solid muscle, right? And he's actually mad intellectual, which didn't make, like at first I just thought, oh, he's going to be an aloof, but he's an intellectual, he's a thinker. And I invited him to come stay and help our program because he had what I was missing, which is wrestling. I've never been a good wrestler because I don't have powerful legs. And I got to we'd roll together all the time, almost daily, and for a period daily. And when I was a little heavier and a little younger, and he wasn't quite as skilled at purple belt, it was a great match. It'd go back and forth, right? But and we'd trained over our years of knowing each other. But recently, this year, I went over there at Luis's and I trained with him, and I swear he didn't even try. I was just 100% defensive. He is. I'm not young enough and strong enough, and I'm not attributing it to his strength. That's a wrong statement. But
I think a lot of people
he has
contribute
evolved
that to him a lot because his technique is on point. Like the fact that he is a large individual should not take away from that.
No, and I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to at all. I actually just invited, and you saw that. He's coming over to give a seminar, and I asked him to share some of his wrestling and some of his favorite.
Yeah, I tried to troll
submissions.
him a little bit, but give him credit on the side, Like
Yeah, we got to mess.
It's always
with
fun
Stewie.
to give him a little hard time.
He's a teammate.
I saw that. That was the Church of Wristlock comments on the
Yeah.
on the
It
invitation.
was like Church of Laylock, son.
Yeah, Colin's got that
interesting.
poison though, man. Colin's got that poison. Like he can leg lock anybody. Well, he can catch anyone with anything. But for me, the poison is the leg locks. Like that's when I think of your game. When comparing it to my game, the part I fear is the leg locks, right? Like
But like a large credit of that does have to go to you because, like I said, I spent quite a long time training at the academy here and at the old school. And most importantly, the one thing I saw that you were good at was your guard. And having me being like the smallest person out of the whole group of people, I got my ass whooped for months, almost years before I kind of like found out. I was like, oh, and I think it was the omoplata sweep. Kind of like when we were doing the pendulum, I was like, man, can I just grab the same side and go? And I would, it kind of worked. And I was like, I've never tried that before. Maybe there's something to this. And like credited then, that's how I started to learn like a lot of inverted stuff that I try to do, especially when it comes to the triangles and like just getting the sweeps and all that.
And you don't even you don't even try to polish your leg lock. Like your leg lock game just kind of happened as a side thing, right? You've never really set out to become a leg attack master. It just kind of
Oh no,
It's not the focus of your game, right?
No, at the time when I was an earlier belt, it was because I saw it as, maybe I won't be as technical as the higher belts or something, but maybe I can make them think and go for their legs. And a lot of things of what I would hear from people coming in the school to visit would be like, yeah, we don't really focus a lot on legs. And I would be like, okay, I've heard that from a lot of people. Maybe I need to look into this. Maybe I need to keep trying this. And it just, I don't know if it's just the flexibility I have in the hips that help me get under people with my legs, that kind of helped me attribute to getting leg locks and setting them up and doing all that. But it helped a lot because I kind of saw it as, these guys are better than me, or they might crush me or pass my guard, because at the time I didn't have a good guard at all. But I had this one trick. And, it's a one-trick pony thing. And for a while, it worked flawlessly. Especially when I was able to, sorry to cut you off, when I was able to, kind of not see what my body could do, but just see where it could take it. Like, maybe I can get it from a different angle here, or maybe, oh, shit, this dude's about to pass. There's a foot right there. Let me try. And, it's a lot of it's out of desperation and luck.
But that's how systems are made, right? You have this one trick, and you go to it again and again and again, and people find out ways to throw a wrench in your trick, and then you find out a way to answer that, and it turns into another submission. And then after a few years, you have this whole system that started off of this one thing, right? And that's what I experienced when I roll with you. I know when it starts, and I've asked you to show me what you do, and even if I know what you do, it's impossible to stop.
But see, sometimes for me, because I do sometimes get asked that, I don't know how to explain it sometimes. It's just something that my body does naturally with instinct. And I think it just comes from me doing it so much, because even when I was a white belt up until now, I've tried to train at least every day if I can. Naturally, you have to take days off. Naturally, stuff happens. You get sick, you get hurt. I've had my fair share of injuries that I still deal with today. But I always tried to train, even when it was hurricane weather, like me or Ray, or just me and Julian, me and Pedro, anybody that was willing to train, even my fiance now, we would train, and we would find a way. And that was, it's always been it's therapeutic almost in a way.
It is. People.
It's literally it's almost like a detox of stress for me.
Yep.
Because whenever you slap and dap and you start to go, man, it's literally it's a different kind of vibe.
What's even cooler than that, and I don't know to what extent you've experienced this yet, but there's a Jiu-Jitsu brotherhood out there. And that is so cool. The coolest thing for me was when I would travel, and I traveled to, when I got my black belt, I put on a series of seminars around Europe, and every school I wrote just said, yeah, come on out, give a seminar, and I was like, I'll take whatever. It paid for the whole trip to Europe. It paid for everything. Everyone welcomed me in their home. Stay with me, man. Come on, no problem. Yeah, pick me up at the airport, drive me around, and that community right there, that brotherhood, right? I don't think people understand how easy it is to travel when you're in the jiu-jitsu community. It's so, the moment you go to a school and you find instantly set one, if not several people to bond with, and they're more than happy to extend their homes to you, and they want to hear your story, and they want to learn an angle of history that tell me about Master Luiz. What's it like training with him? He came under Hickson, and one of the things I kind of need to mention is that there's no way I can give praise to anyone. That sounds kind of religious. You can't talk about Stuart and talk about Jason and not mention Pedro, because Pedro kind of is he's leading from the front, right, of our organization of Master Palhares. And I've rolled with a lot of really good black belts, and I don't want to take away from them by naming them, but 16 years of training I've been training, and I've been a massive dude. At one point in time, I kind of almost looked like a Neanderthal. But no one has ever destroyed me like Pedro. Pedro, I call him the rapist. I do. I call him the rapist. I don't care. You can call him whatever, but what I feel like when I roll with him is like I just got raped. I feel like I just got out of prison and I just got raped. I have absolutely nothing for him. It's like I never trained jiu-jitsu. I think I swept him once, and that was like the best day I could remember.
Wow.
Man.
He's that good. He's like, I have nothing for him. I literally have nothing for him.
Yeah, when you kind of want to speak on either both the Palharises, like
probably that goes without saying.
Probably one of the most, two influential people, like I would say in the jiu-jitsu community, in our whole association, probably on the East Coast. No matter where these guys go, they're loved.
Yeah.
They're appreciated, they're respected, because they've, Luiz has fought his whole time in jiu-jitsu, won championships. Pedro is doing the same thing, winning multiple tournaments, going around competing, working hard as he can, building up a school at the same time. And I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to, and you know this as well because you teach and compete, to have to bring up a group of people, have them ready to compete and fight. They got your name on they got your name on the back of them. They have to focus hard on that because they are not just gonna, not train you up, let you go compete and get destroyed. That's not their way. They're gonna teach you great self-defense, great judo, awesome jiu-jitsu, old jiu-jitsu and modern jiu-jitsu. But it's hard to focus on both. Like, you have to train hard for both. People don't realize the stress that is on the body and, a lot of that. So mad respect will always have to go out to those two because without them, the association, it wouldn't be there. Like, this strong group of people that we have together as a family all over the world now, it's incredible. Just the fact that, like, even when we have our annual meetings, we'll have like almost 20, 30 black belts here.
Yeah.
And all of them by name. Who can say they can go somewhere, even if it is just like once a year for 3-4 days? Man, I know 20 black belts. I trained with 20 of them.
Yeah, and we shared technique and we rolled together and we learned from each other.
And it's amazing.
And when I give props to Pedro, who in my opinion he's the best black belt I personally rolled with. I
agree with that.
His game's unreal, but he's a product of Master. I call him Master P. I think it's kind of funny, get Master P, right? He's a product of Master Luiz, right? And obviously, I ended up under Master Luiz because he's real. Like the thing about, and I have much love where I came from. I came from Royce's network. Mm-hmm. But there was a difference when I would train with Luiz and I got to travel with Luiz. I was genuinely his friend. Yes, he is my master in jiu-jitsu. Yes, he is. I am under him, and it's my duty to try to learn as much, which is why I extend out. I try to get his guys over here. The problem with me teaching is that I don't really have any assistants running my adult class right now. Right, I'm trying to get guys to that level. And I just don't have time because I work a full-time job and I teach every evening. That's my responsibility. But when I wasn't working 8 to 5, I did go train with Luiz. We did go teach the JSO, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I did train with him regularly. I wish I had more time from that, but and I'm trying to get back to that. But in those periods where I can't, that's why I lean on guys like you and Stuart and Todd and I try to get you. I do my best to unify the team and get you guys over here because I know it's my job to keep learning and that our jiu-jitsu as a team is evolving, and I'm doing my best to contribute. But back to Luiz is that I could be out with Luiz, and with all respect, I can be like, man, fuck you, man. We can be having that conversation where I could say that to him, right? Like if I ever said that to Royce, oh man, he'd probably just like pull off my belt right there. I'm not. Point is, you don't know when you can overstep a boundary with Royce, and I did it several times, and I kind of got scolded for it. It's like it didn't really feel like a genuine friendship. When I got to train with Luiz and I got to hang out with Luiz, I felt like he was genuinely a friend, and I could, and we could operate on that level as well. We could be like, we can go hang out, we can have lunch, we can just him and me, and there's no taboo topics. I can ask him. I'm not going to get scolded for asking something, right? I remember once I got scolded for asking about someone's belt. I was just curious. Like there was another black belt. There was a black belt. I wasn't a black belt at the time, but I remember I asked Hoyce. I was like, hey, like how come he's still like like he didn't have any stripes? And I'm trying, I'm just trying to understand how the black belt works. But I got scolded. I was told you do not ask about someone else's belt. But I kind of felt like it could have been answered a little bit differently. Like, hey man, that's kind of off. Could have been said like in a really chill tone.
But instead it was kind of taken as a...
Yeah, I kind of
As
felt
if
like...
you were supposed to know not to ask.
Well,
like.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of like different like, kind of like weird gestures and rules that people have in jiu-jitsu. A couple of, just to stay off topic for a second, like, lower belts don't go last higher belts. But I think it's ridiculous. Obviously, if you want to roll, you should obviously just present yourself ready to roll. If they want to go, then they'll say yes or no. Or like just like off top, like some techniques aren't allowed here, some techniques aren't allowed there, which must be respected as well. But it should definitely be covered before the roll is said. Not like, oh, you caught me in this. Say a gym doesn't allow heel hooks. But it was never said, you guys said, hey, man, do we do heels? And the guy says yes, then obviously it's on. You just be respectful with your submissions, but kind of weird rules like that, like while they have to be respected, it's kind of like, some of them are kind of common sense.
Yeah.
Well, they're unspoken rules, and right, to this. And I think as like a white belt, you should ask the questions. Like, you shouldn't be... And that's the whole learning process, right? Is like ask the questions, like what shouldn't I do? What are the mistakes? Oh, make sure you don't go in the bathroom without your shoes on, because that's pretty disgusting. And get back on the mat. I mean, just simple things. Wash your gi, take a shower. Hey, clip your toenails. But some people weren't raised to cut their nails and take showers all the time or wash their gi.
And on that subject, real quickly, you have to be careful how you educate people on like that, right? Because if you call someone out, you embarrass them, and you can lose a student from embarrassing them, from putting them on the spot. You can kind of make an enemy. Like, do you have to do that in front of everyone? It's kind of like
don't do it in front
sometimes.
Of them, pull them aside, hey.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's a
there's a couple that do
sensitive
need
ground.
to be. There's a couple that you do need to be. Like, one thing I'll call anybody out is, if you walk off the mats, please put some damn sandals on. Like, it's common courtesy things like that is kind of like, you deserve to get called out on that point. But
don't come with funky butt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, please wash your gi.
Yeah.
Well, I like how he approaches it when he's talking about, like, for kids, for example, when we're talking about just basic rules, he's like, I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm just going to let everyone know equally, this is how the rules go. If we catch you, then you're going to get the same punishment as anyone else would.
Well, I agree to that. When it comes to kids, you got to do that. But if you're an adult, come on.
For adults, you just kind of say it and then let them know for everyone. And if they do it again, then, I would call them out. If, you already know you talked about it, and then they're just going to, it's pretty much like disrespectful at that point.
And I think they genuinely don't know, though. Like, they just, it's not ingrained enough. Like, if they make the mistake, and my personality is just not to embarrass anyone. I always try to save it for a time when I can kind of just reiterate it to the group, right?
Yeah.
I don't like calling people out in front of other people. I try not to, but there are times when you have to, right? Like, there's just times when you have no choice. Like, if someone's bleeding all over the mat, you got to tell them, bro, you're bleeding all over the mat. I got to tell you, if it's a girl and whatever, it's got to be said.
No, at the fourth annual association, I started bleeding. I was like, hey, man, you're bleeding through your gi. You need to kind of just go off the side, and then we're rolling for you. So, and I was okay with that, It's common sense.
Yeah, just stuff like that. You can do it.
Don't take it personal.
Be
well, that's one
don't
thing.
Be rude about it when you're
in
telling
the heat
them,
of the moment, though, if I'm cut and I'm bleeding and you tell me, yo, you're bleeding, I'm just gonna straight up say, I don't care. And if you say, okay, then fine, we're gonna keep going. If you say, you probably need to wipe it up, I'm gonna take it as, okay, you want me to clean it up, and I will at that point. But in the heat of a roll, man, like I'm only focused on either trying to get done what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
pass a certain way, like not get choked. One thing, like,
is that like normal culture though? In Luis's, if there's blood, if someone's bleeding, like kind of.
No, you're supposed to stop, most definitely, and if it's a large cut and it's getting on, if it's on the mat, stripping on the mats, obviously you have to stop, clean it up, get bleach, clean the mats, all that stuff, wipe it up.
But I understand what you're saying. Sometimes a roll is just...
Say it's like your fingers, like you cut your finger, like my fingers are horrendous, but say like that and you're like just bleeding here and it's just on like the collars, like that's nothing to really like have to stop unless it's like gushing like down your arm or something like that.
Well, the Savage over here opened up my eye a few weeks ago. She...
I've had
it was that one.
I've had contact. I've
split
had
open
contact.
and she's like, "Oh my god!"
Speaking of Pedro, I've
I
been
did
rolling
not.
with him no gi before, and he straight up like it was some samurai shit with his not even a nail, like a fingernail, went like this and my contact was sliced in half like that. I was like, holy shit, that was amazing.
That's how precise he is, bro.
Yeah.
He can do that, and he did that on purpose.
Absolutely.
I know. Nah, he knows what it's like not to be able to see. He has to wear glasses. Ha ha ha.
Have you seen the video of Bruce Lee doing ping pong against a guy with
It's
nunchucks?
CGI, but
Come on, that was real, coach.
Nah.
Right. And what's amazing is like people think that's possible. Like-
Absolutely. I was talking to a guy at my work. I'm not going to name him.
yeah,
He's a Taekwondo superstar, right?
Yeah.
And
another one.
He was like, yeah, that's real. I was like, oh, fucking way, that's real.
No.
Dude.
Yeah, there ain't
Come
no
on.
doubt.
Man,
There's no
like
way.
one thing, like especially I wanted to go back to like the leg locks and all that stuff, like we were talking about. That I guess they call it like, what is it, the honey hole now?
Oh yeah.
That's become the accepted term for
The
it,
accepted
right? Like,
term.
more people call it that.
I've always kind of thought of it as a failed knee bar. And
I do. That's how
I don't know why. Like it always just comes to me every time I hear that. I just think failed knee bar because
It's a very easy way to enter the system, right? Like
Right.
The knee bar is the best threat to get there.
Well, to me, it's the first one in the combination. And when you go and you put them in all three in a triangle like this, it's knee straight, leg lace, even Monteleone. So you kind of have like this weird like almost square type, shape that you can just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they kick you out. You go back to the knee bar. You go back and forth, back to the. That was one of the first combinations I ever learned from you. And I think I was training with Scotty. It was earlier today, and I had spun under and I had gotten in it. I was just like, oh, you remember this, don't you? And we just kept going back and forth. Like that was
My knowledge,
really fun roll.
To my knowledge, our school was the first to implement the quote-unquote honey hole in North Florida. Like, I came across this DVD of Andre Galvao, and he called it the leg knot, and I had never seen any of it. I had never, at that point in time, I saw it. It was miraculous. It was the leg knot.
Yeah, it was gold.
And we started going over it.
I thought it was. I learned. You taught it to us as when we were white belts, and white belts, blue belts. You made us teach it as like white belts and blue belts, like in front of everyone. That was like the bee's knees. Of
Yeah,
when
that was like
around.
2011. We were doing that. We were heavy into it. It was like a major slice of our game.
Don't get me wrong. I think Honey Hole is a awesome name because I like honey. But, but it's every time I think about it, I'm just like, I hope they at least attempted the knee bar first. And it's a deadly combo, man. Especially when you implement like with the no-gi, the 10th Planet guys, and all the guys who just focus mainly with the no-gi and are very good at the leg locks. Like every time I honestly end up like knowing I'm gonna go against someone who's from like that kind of environment, it's like, man, I gotta really watch my legs. I gotta watch my heels. I gotta be careful. Just proceed with caution. Try hit them with the old ways of how it is. But
it's funny.
Those guys, man, like you got to give them mad respect. Like
You
they
do,
work
and
hard. They work hard, and they're sorry to keep cutting you off. They work hard in their craft, and it's just to focus mainly on that. Like I really hope it's like a go into that, and then if it doesn't work, go straight to the mount or to the side control. Like it's fun to watch the videos with how they've implemented and added all the different heel hooks in it, because it just adds multiple options from the position, and that quick credit should be given to them in that aspect. But back to you. I'm sorry for cutting you it
It is interesting watching these guys. Like myself, I watch a lot of these guys in different regions, and they're coming up, and they're like, leg lock aficionados, leg lock attackers, right? Like really.
And I love that because it's so much fun to watch other people do it and just see like what angles they can do. Because I'm like, man, if I got a gi, with my gi on, I can hold them down, I can trap them maybe with this, wrap the lapel around here, go for that same attack, and maybe they won't be able to roll out, and if they do, I'm just stuck to them. Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about the gi is like it just gives you a little bit more of a different variation of control to go along with it. And as long as you because I try to follow the IBJJF protocol when it comes to reaping and all that.
And what happened to me is I was much like your typical jiu-jitsu school where you didn't train. I was actually taught that leg attacks were gay. I was me coming up as a white and blue belt, it was taboo. You didn't do them. There was the foot lock, a straight ankle. That was what was taught in my system. I really wasn't taught much more, and it was kind of like the culture was that you really didn't attack the legs, and a straight ankle was okay.
Yeah. Kind of like I'm like cutting back in with the old, like I say, like the old ways of how jiu-jitsu was, where it was you got the takedown, you passed the guard, you got the points, you kept the position, and then you got the submission. That's how it always was. It wasn't never really an attack the feet like type thing. It was more judo oriented, and just goes to show you like the amount of change that's happened in the time. But still to this day, that old-fashioned way will trump any modern style when it's done correctly and it's trained correctly. And when you have those people that can teach it to you, like Luiz, who's his source, like he grew up hanging out with these guys, training with them. You can't really get much more closer to the source than that. Yeah. And that that's probably like the coolest part of it is just like people would ask what your lineage is. And
Elio, Hickson, Luis.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like me, and it's not like right. Me. It's like I'm maybe like the fifth one down. And
I don't think it's 5. It's Hickson, Luis, you right? Hickson, Luis. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, and it's a
right. Well, like, it was cool because Luis got his belt from Elio and Hickson, as I understand it. They both awarded him his belt. So you could kind of say it either way. You could go Alien. You can go Elio, Luis, Alien.
He's
Elio,
about
Luis,
conspiracies.
Me, or you can go Hickson, Luis.
In his way, he was, because just the way he was, just the way his body was and what he was able to do with it at the time while he was healthy. He kind of was like out of this world.
He was the pit bull. He was a pit bull. He Luis double golded several IBJJFs like in his time. Man, that's a feat. To gold is one thing. To double gold, he is a multiple time. I'm pretty sure I've looked at it before. I don't remember the years, but he's got it in his dojo. You can go see. He double golded several times. He was and still is a beast. And
I still think it's like going back to both of them. It's just awesome for the fact that at that time when Luis was competing, Pedro was on the sidelines cheering his dad on. Yeah. Right. Now it's Luis is on the side cheering his son on, coaching his son, and his son's winning tournaments. I have to go back to like when we went to the first Orlando IBJJF. Man, like his last match was by far like one of the craziest matches I've ever seen. You can argue on either side which way points should have been given and shouldn't have been given, but Pedro at the very end of this kind of knew that, look, I have to choke this guy. And it was in the last second of the entire match that he was able to, I think, bow and arrow the guy, and he choked him. And I, to this day, have never seen Luiz so ecstatic. Like, he was jumping up and down, like, going crazy, and we all were, like, half the entire stadium erupted in applause. Like, that was just, like, the typical guy. I'm like, right? Like, I was, like, to this day, like, even when I competed later on in the day and I was able to, podium for the first time in a gi, like, at Brown, like, that kind of, like, pushed me through and, like, got me to where I was able to win my match. And, it was a tough match. Like, the guy, I believe he had a school in Oklahoma, and if it wasn't for the fact that I can squat, I got some good base, he probably would have swept me in the beginning and just took over from there. But I was able to get the 2 points when he tried to pull. from a single leg, which, you know, normally I've been a guard puller for a while, and I've been trying to break that taboo, like to get that old kind of fashioned way, because even when I did win that match, Luis came up to me and said that was the best jiu-jitsu he's ever seen me do in a tournament, and that was worth more than just winning and podium altogether, just to make him proud. That felt great to me. And then I went in, you know, I lost in the finals, but, you know, I jumped in the absolute and fought like, you know, a monster. He was huge, and I do believe that he was not from this world. And I believe his name was Khalil. His first name was Khalil. I cannot remember his last name, but man, monster of a guy. I did my best I could. I just kind of said, you know what, man, this guy's like almost 3 times my size. I just got to just go at him like a pit bull, as hard as I can.
Spider monkey.
I tried as hard as I possibly could, you know, and I think I gassed with 2 minutes left, and I lost. But that was probably like one of the funnest matches, and I still to this day like hope when I compete again, whatever, like, if it's still at Brown or, you know, whenever I am able to go up to the next one, I just want to meet him again at any tournament and try again, because I felt like I could have slayed a giant. Like, it's so.
And that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu.
And that exactly, that's the point I get a kick out of so much, is just not even like beating a bigger person, but it's just surviving. If I can survive against someone 3 times my size, that alone is kind of a psychological victory for me. But having said that, I gassed out and I didn't make it. Obviously, I failed in that aspect, and I want to have another go. And obviously, the only way I can do that is to make absolute. So, you know, whenever I can squeeze in another tournament after the Nogi one I have in October, hopefully I can get one in by the end of the year or before the end of the year.
Yeah, you'd never see a boxing competition where they had, you know, all weight classes, all heights. You know, that would be unfair. That would be. But in grappling, the smallest guy can beat the biggest guy. You know, it absolutely can happen. You have a much greater chance using leverage than power, right? And striking is about power, grappling is about leverage. So
that's awesome. So I was talking to you about the Quintet, right? This new grappling tournament that's coming on, and Quintet 2 had kind of the same thing. A smaller guy from 10th Planet, I think his name is Gio. He went against Kazushi Sakuraba's team, and they had this big tall.
Are you Gio Martinez?
Yeah,
Gio. Yeah, you know what's cool, man? I actually saw him. I met him at the ADCC trials in West Virginia. Me and Pedro went out there, and I got to compete in the tournament there, and that was a lot of fun. Shout out to my friends G and Tara who are out there, and like I saw him like when he was rolling, and that dude's a monster. It was fun. It was actually like fun to watch him, and he just looked like, you know, the regular when he walked in. Like, I didn't know who he was, obviously.
He used to be a breakdance champion.
I can totally believe that.
That's up.
See, I have no rhythm at all. So, and when I actually did the first something Road to Titan Olympus, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
My bad if I fucked up the name, but I went up against a guy who I think his name is Charles Harwitz, something like that. I believe we're friends on Facebook. Like, dude is phenomenal. Dude's phenomenal, man. I actually rolled with him a long time ago when I was a purple belt. He was a brown belt, and I felt like literally he break danced like on top of me. Like, I was just like, oh my god, how is he moving so fast? And I found out later he was like a background dancer or something like that. I was like, dude.
Makes sense.
That's bullshit. I was like, that's not fair.
So, you know,
like, I need rhythm, damn it.
Maybe we should implement that.
When you talk about someone who can move like that, whenever I think of someone who can move like really, really well, like almost to the point that it's unnatural, one of the first people that jumps to my mind is Julian Abensay. I mean, like Julian.
Oh, you mean Wata? He moves like Wata.
Wherever you put, like the thing about Julian is. Wherever you press is where he's not. If you push, he vanishes from that point and is somewhere else. It's almost like rolling with a spirit or something. I mean, he's a purple belt today, which is arguable. But I remember he went and trained at, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to take any credibility for this guy, but a well-established black belt. You know, he went to his academy, and that black belt contacted me and goes, I think Julian was a blue belt, but it was in California, and it was like a 4th or 5th degree black belt. And he contacted me and he goes, "Who's this Julian Abensay guy? That dropped in." He goes, "He's beating all my black belts. He's a blue belt. Why is he?" And I was like, "Bro, he's just that good, But he thought like maybe the guy's not a blue belt or maybe it's a joke or something. But I said no. He has. That's how long he's been training. He's just that good. But
well, to some people, the belt doesn't mean shit. Like, in my opinion, it doesn't mean shit anyways. But, you could get a guy who literally is, like, around Julian who's just, like, a blue belt. And you're like, oh, okay, he's just a blue belt. But he moves like a brown belt. And you're like,
yeah.
You're like, what the fuck's going on?
But Julian's brain doesn't work like a normal brain because you've seen him with Rubik's cubes, right? Like he can take a Rubik's cube.
I've hung out with Julian many of times.
His brain's on his. He can take. I didn't even know they had. He'll show up with Rubik's cubes that I didn't know existed, like all white 3-dimensional Rubik's cubes with like edges jutted out, or he'll show up with like a 6 or 8-sided Rubik's cube, or some of them will be, and he can just effortlessly like they're done. Like his brain, I'd say he's like got a point. Less than a 1%. Like
I can do the regular one in less than 3 minutes, but then
see,
the more complex ones. No.
I look at those things and I'm just like this. 1, 2.
No, I'm like, isn't there a code for that?
right.
What I did was I broke them apart, and
No,
that's how I solve it. I just like snap them apart.
Just
and put
take like the stickers off.
I have a hard
I
enough.
solved it.
Yeah.
I did it.
I have a hard enough
That's what I
time
would do.
figuring out like, okay, is this dude gonna try and pass to my right or my left?
Yeah.
That's enough fucking punishment for my brain
Yeah.
already. I'm leaving out everything else to muscle memory because if not, I'm fucked.
But in his mind, he's already past the left and moving on. To the
Yeah,
next
he's
one,
already
right?
It's
That's
like,
the good
it's
thing
like,
about flexibility, though. Your leg can go all the way in like that and spin under and just completely go back to normal. And then you're like,
Yoga.
fuck you.
I noticed that
That's-
rolling with coach. Like all of a sudden we're rolling boom, 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 and there's like a foot right here. Like, wait, where did that come from, man?
And I learned a lot
You know
about
what he
that.
does? No, you know what he's done to me before? He's taken my feet and just shoved them in my face, and I'm like,
He did
dude,
that to me too, and I'm just like, I'm
stop.
cool here. This is not really
But
that
it
bad.
sucks because it's like you're pushing my own feet in my face, and I can't even move now.
It's not my fault you're so flexible. It's just like moving noodles,
See, at that point, you just kind of got to freak him out and just start licking your own toes.
I
That's when
honestly,
they're
I was
just be
like,
like,
dude,
"Oh,
it's
I'm
a good
good.
thing
Let
I
me just
washed
chew
my
off
feet.
this
By
nail.
Yeah.
By the toenails.
But
oh,
thanks,
Totally
man. I would have
chilling,
never
bro.
got there at that angle.
Oh my god.
That's one of the things about Nikki. We like this weekend. I think she earned her moniker. We call her the Savage here, right?
The
We
Savage.
call her
Savage
Nikki
Punisher,
Savage, right?
something like that.
The savage, but you can't have both.
No, because
It's
sometimes
yeah.
they'll call me the Savage, and then when I'm rolling, they'll
I
be
call
like,
you the
"Oh,
Savage.
you're the Punisher,"
It's the
and I'm
Savage.
like, "Oh my
I went
god,
with a savage on the video I made for her.
Savage." I have a
But
shirt that says
she
that.
can split. It's like effortless. She can bend completely in half. Like people like stuff themselves in suitcases are more flexible than her. So
I can
it's
do
like
that. I can
Yeah.
fit in a suitcase.
it's such a huge asset. That's
Just
why
saying.
like I hope you never
would
give up on that, and I hope you actually
Yeah.
I have tried.
take that to a new
Gonna-
level. I hope you keep working on your
Yes,
flexibility.
I am. I actually want to
Like
go
the-
through a course with my mom to do like yoga and get like certified.
Yeah,
in
your
it.
mom
So-
freaks
You're
out.
gonna be a certified I don't have the patience for yoga.
class?
No, I'm saying
Wednesday
I'm
yoga
going.
classes?
No, I'm gonna try and get a certification.
That'd be
I
cool.
think
Yeah.
So what
yoga
kind of
class
different
with my mom.
questions have you loaded up on your list, anyways? Like if
Well, when the conversation is just flowing, I just let it flow. We just let
Right.
it go. But I do have a couple. Let's go into some.
these are just kind of out of I'm just kind of out of curiosity.
Well, so
of what
one of
you
the
got
things
planned.
I like to talk about, and I
What
think
you guys
people want to
have.
know. This podcast is two things. I want it to be Jiu-Jitsu, which we all are.
Right.
And the reason I like conspiracies is I think it's letting people see in a hidden side, right? Because conspiracies is like, man, how nutty is this guy? Like that's the angle that this podcast has.
Everyone
is
in jiu-jitsu is kind of nutty.
We have the nut factor, and I like to put it out there, right? Because we're all kind of. Honestly, I think we're actually more open-minded. I think that jiu-jitsu kind of breeds a conspiracy theorist because. I think that jiu-jitsu breeds open-mindedness. I could be wrong, but just a thought of mine. But let's back up. Let's back up to jiu-jitsu. We will step into kind of Colin's
Like free range
thoughts.
like,
But one of the things I like to talk about is regimen. Like people want to know, like if you have a regimen, what is it like that you tack onto your jiu-jitsu? Is your regimen solely jiu-jitsu or? are you like Todd? Do you run? Do you do any free weights lifting? Do you diet?
Like with my job, because I do construction, I work in the shower field, like building glass showers and putting up mirrors and all that stuff. And that alone, like, I kind of treat it as a job and like as a second work, because it does kind of help get my grip stronger, because I'm carrying big ass glass and I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And
That's dangerous.
all that
very
stuff. So, and
dangerous.
most of the time, like, I work like, you know, up to like 10 hours a day. So like after I work that 10 hours, you know, I go straight to the jiu-jitsu school and I train, and I sometimes I'll wrap up my fingers, you know, just to get a little bit of grip support, because they're, you know, dead from holding mirrors and shit all day. But like really just the regiment that I have that I like to do is I go right when I get off work is I go to jiu-jitsu and I just try to stretch. Like I just stretch out my hips and my knees, because I know that most likely that's what I'm going to use the most. And I'll stretch out my shoulders and all that stuff. And once it comes to that, man, just get a good warm up, like, and start like doing. I like it when we, you know, do judo takedowns for like 5 minutes each. Kind of helps me like get up again, get up, fall down, get up again, you know, rep the same throw I like to do, or the same takedown, you know, whatever I choose to do. But like regiment wise, I just kind of go with the, like, right when I start the roll, I look for 2 grips. I look for a sleeve grip, leg grip, and sometimes either both for the either or. I just switch in between, and I go from there. A lot now lately, I've just been trying to pass. But when I do, like, just want to try out new, like, try new ways to get to a knee bar, try to get to the back, sweeps, go unders, all that stuff. Like, I always essentially go for those 2 grips. I just feel like they're the strongest ones you can have whenever you have an open guard.
Are you teaching over there at the school?
Only when Master Palhares like needs someone to go there while I do it, but no, not normally. I'm not, like, I prefer to just, if they're not there, it's usually, you know, one of the black belts there, and unless asked, you know, for a certain opinion or view on a technique or a pass, I don't usually, you know, I don't say anything. I just, you know, attend the class as normal, you know, respect the higher belt.
Sure. No.
And a lot of times, like, it's cool because, like, they'll do just 1 or 2 things slightly different that you'll see, and like it might, you know, be better or for worse from what you're originally taught by, you know, Luiz, Pedro, whoever you come from. But it's cool to see different perspectives and how they can do it, because everyone's body is different. One of the things that, like, when I have gotten to teach before, I taught the inverted triangle. And from the inverted triangle, the sweep to get all the way to side control to mount. And when I first did it, demonstrated it, like, there was a couple white belts there that looked at me like, what the fuck is this? Like, you really expect me? Come on, man. What the fuck? And I was like, man, it's really just even simple. I was like, you go here, you grab a certain way, or grab under, and just have this hand and this hand meet. I was like, once you do that, you've locked in your triangle, and you just grab here, and your hands meet, they're going to roll. Anyone, no matter what size you are, I did it to Stuart in front of them, like, just to prove it, they're gonna go. And it's just, like, it's just funny shit like that, I guess. Like, you never know, like, when you do get to teach, like, the nuggets that you can give people. For a while, I think it was last year, I taught, like, the kids class for, like, a couple weeks, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a headache.
It's definitely birth control. Like,
It's that bad.
Like, no, like, it's not really, but you kind of see it for as, like, wow, I only got to deal with, like, these kids are crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, they're all, and the funny thing is, you see the talent in all of them. It's just, you know, getting their attention is kind of like the main thing. It would. I will say this though, I had a lot of fun doing it, and, you know, I would do it again if I had the time. But obviously, with my job, I don't.
Is there classes there at your school that's purely for females only?
Yeah, we have female only. We have the female class that is, I believe, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe, maybe 45 to a half hour before the 7 o'clock class.
Yeah.
What I would like to see happen with my school is that I'd like to see Nikki start teaching women jiu-jitsu, because I know that there are women that don't want to train with men, and I understand that. I know that there's women that come in there. I've had women not train because they're like, I don't want to rep with a man. there are men. I know that
I still make them roll with me anyway. I don't care.
I know that we have men that have said, "I'll leave if I have to roll with a girl." I know that we have that, and I don't know I don't believe it or not, we have that, right? And I also know that we have wives that will not allow their men to roll with women, right? So there's 3 different angles.
See, now my fiance trains at the same school I do. We train at like even different times. I have no issues with her rolling with anyone.
Because you're a jiu-jitsu.
I think jiu-jitsu people understand if you don't do jiu-jitsu, you're not going to understand it as if like when you're doing it, because it's nothing like weird when you're rolling. You're
true,
rolling
but it's also
you want the submission.
it can be a dangerous thing though to like, you know, date inside the gym, especially if like you're not willing to commit to it because you see that person train there at the time. You have to respect the instructor in the school. But, you know, that's how I met Mel at Luiz's. Like, at first, I was kind of an asshole. But, you know, like... So
you are kind of an asshole. Just throw that out there. But we love you, man. I just, you know...
There are multiple amendments in the Constitution of the United States of America. I can only choose one, and I choose the 5th.
The fifth.
But anyways, but yeah, like meeting her, and then I started hanging out with her. You know, we got along real well, and you know, now we own a house together, and we're gonna get married. It's, you never know.
It's awesome.
And and the beautiful thing is, like, if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, we would have never met each other ever. And it's the crazy. Isn't it
awesome that you all have that passion together? Like that is a.
I think that's
an awesome bond, right? Like that right there. When you, it's interesting because I can't have these conversations with Chin. Like we don't. That's hard when you're passion when the person you're with, right? Like my wife, she did jiu-jitsu, but she wasn't into it. You know, she just.
I remember the days
she
when
did
she
it.
did it.
You know,
I remember.
But it was kind of cool. Like she got pretty good for her size. She earned her blue belt. She actually did earn her blue belt, and but it would be super cool if she were into it. Like that would be dope. I
can't wait till Mel is able to get her purple in the future. That'll be a lot of fun for her, just because I can get away with whipping her in public. But anyways,
well, she's also very talented too, and I think that's. Like that helps.
Oh no, she's
like y'all get it on that level.
And she's kind of got that bulldog person that like rolling whaler. She's gonna barrel. There's no fear when she tries to pass you. If you catch her in something, she doesn't care. She'll come back into it and keep going. Having said that, she does not like to train with me, and I find that very offensive. She literally, I have to beg her to roll with me, and she just does not want to do it.
See, I imagine people in couples, right? Especially the couples that come in the class, and when they get home, it's like
Becky and Ryan.
Right.
Like, it's
I picture them training with each other.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They roll together, but then I could see them getting tired of it because Ryan will be like, "You should have done this," and then she's like, "I'm trying to do this," and then like they argue about it, and then they roll with other people.
That's the thing with Mel too. Like I'll tell her one or two. I'm like, "Hey, you know, this or that." She'll be, "Oh, okay," and she'll, you know, for the most part, she'll listen. When I start talking about all the crazy shit, that's when she's like, she'll just give me that look. I'm just like, okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay.
Like, especially when she competes. Like, there was a time in front of Nina, she was at a tournament, and it was sub only. And, of course, I'm treating it as you got to get points. You got to do something. And I'm yelling at her to move and do all this stuff. And she kind of just gave me that, Colin, shut the fuck up look.
Right.
So, hey, I shut up, and she ended up winning, you know, like maybe 2 minutes later. So, you know, it's just funny, like, with the personalities of different people and how they can mix in. Like, you know, we do pretty well. Like, we're having a good time.
You're gonna roll at
It's
your
good
wedding?
to connect that way, though. It's really.
You're gonna have
it's
a mat
good for
at the
them.
wedding? You're just gonna be
Have a mat at the wedding. Throw each other.
I swear to you, like, I would love to do a jiu-jitsu one where like everyone just has kimonos. And having said that, Pedro Palhares, I promise to you, sir, you will be able to wear a kimono at our wedding.
But you know what I always thought was super dope is back in the day before I was training, my instructor at the time, Larry Sheely, he had hoists, like, I don't know how they did it. They like run it out of cruise ship or they set it up on a cruise ship, but basically there was this Gracie cruise and they matted out the deck of a cruise ship. and they went on a cruise and trained all day every day. Like
Fuck,
how
yes.
sick would that be, right?
Dude,
like imagine having your
that's
wedding
so
like that.
cool.
Where like you're on a cruise ship and the deck is matted and you get married and everyone's training jiu-jitsu out in
And
the
you're getting
ocean.
drunk.
But
and
see,
jumping in
there's
the
only
pool.
one issue with that.
Sorry.
Like I said no to Vegas. I said no to doing it in Vegas. But I mean, the only reason having that being is like certain people I want to attend probably can't afford to go, even though it's cheap. I don't really think they can afford the time to go.
Well,
But
for cruises, I think like it's cheaper.
Talking about
more-
Vegas.
Oh,
You can't,
sorry.
you can't,
Never
you
mind. I
can't
thought
take
you were
you can't take a ship to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
If you can, I'll definitely go
No,
on
no,
that.
no. I thought you were
That'll be some
talking
cool
about a
shit.
cruise being too expensive because I know what my parents are doing with their friends since it's close to wintertime. What they're doing is they're going on a cruise during the winter because it's cheaper. So yeah, things to think about.
But yeah, like when it comes to that and like.
So let's back up a quick. Lifestyle. We were on lifestyle, and you talked about your daily routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow any special diet at all? Is anything off limits in your diet or no?
Man, I usually I've stayed away from soda for a while. Like I kind of just try and do that and keep my sugar like down a little bit. But I also eat like probiotics every single day. Like I try my fiance is a chef, so she will cook like very nutritious and good food for me. And you know, I'm fucking lucky as hell to have that. I'll say that. But I
So
have
you eat pretty clean.
yeah, I try to. There's times where like, you know, I'll order pizza or something like this, or you know, all the, you know, jibber jabber. I'll do sheet. If I can go on a strict diet and really like shed weight. Like I can probably get down to like 150.
What do you compete at?
I been competing in middle, and I've just been walking around at 158. So people would have like a 10, 20 pound advantage on me, but I feel like I fare better against bigger people. And it worked out pretty well. In light, it's kind of like the same thing. Like they're very quick. And my jiu-jitsu isn't like a very fast pace. Like I like to move in like spurts, like a little bit of like bursts from here and there. I can go full force, like full if I need to, but at the same time, I'm always conscious of my heart rate and all that. And I only say that because once your heart rate starts going like this, you're kind of like on a downhill slope with your energy and your adrenaline. And because there's been times when I've competed where I felt that way, and I was like, man, I just have to push this last little bit, and I would win. But at the same time, when I got off the mats, I'd be almost like I was dead. And it's just like, man, did I really win? Like I feel like I just died. And that's one of the things about it. Like, but lifestyle wise, man, like jiu-jitsu's completely can change the way I live life. Like I used to be a heavy smoker. I used to drink a lot.
That's right. You smoked when we first started training, didn't you? You used to go outside and smoke, didn't you?
Yeah. And
I forgot about that.
you know,
you were. That's right.
It
Am I
is.
right? Am I
It
right
is
in
what.
remembering
Yeah,
that?
yeah. No, it is what it is. Like I've always like just had that kind of edge where I'm just like, man, I don't like to drink, but I like to smoke. So like when it comes to like having stress and I can't, or if I can't train, like I always like, man, I gotta smoke. And even like today, with the work I do, like when I get stressed out, like sometimes like, you know, occasionally we'll have a smoke, or, you know, whether it's, you know, tobacco or weed, one of the two. But it, you know, I don't really like.
So you still smoke today?
On occasions, yes. I still do.
Like what would you, a pack a week, or like what do you?
I would say so. Yeah, like mostly just at work. Like I don't like there'll be the occasions where I'll wake up and I'll just be like, man, I just want a cigarette and a smoke, and I got no blunts. I got plenty, you know, of, you know, other stuff, but still, like, you know, it's just that edge. It's hard. Like for a while, I quit for like 5 years, and I did pretty well, but like just going back into construction and working hard, like it brings stress that's hard to really overcome.
And it's a break throughout the day. I mean, I used to smoke when I was in the Navy.
Oh, hell yeah.
And,
Be like,
that's where I get all the information from the boss, because he's out there smoking a cigarette. And I wasn't even in charge of our division at the time. I wasn't the lead, right? Another guy was. But I smoked with the chief, you know, our boss.
yeah, you get breaks.
And I got all the information for the day, what the guys need to do. And, you know, the LPO was like in the dark, and I'd have to kind of tell him, but it was all secondhand. You know. Yeah.
Man, like, yeah, it's funny because like I remember this one girl that I used to work with. Her name is Kat. Like she said, she's like, I know why you smoke. She's like, you smoke to get, so you can take a break from work. And I was like, nah, that ain't true. That shit was completely true. I was like, damn. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Nuh-uh.
Mine, God, I shouldn't say this on a podcast, but my breaks now are literally like going to the bathroom and just kind of hanging out and just relaxing for a minute from work because I don't smoke. So it's like taking an extra long bathroom break.
Yeah, we should get bathroom breaks. They give smoke breaks. You got X amount, 15 minutes to go use the bathroom every such and such.
Hey man, I had like 4 pots of coffee. You have no idea what this stuff is doing to me right now. I'm cleansing.
All right, so I have all these questions that are controversial. That's my goal. I want people to. I don't want to stay away from controversial things. So let's talk about what is your take on religion or spirituality? Are you religious? Are you spiritual? What's your take? Expand on it.
I kind of treat it as you just kind of have you got to have an open mind and an understanding. I grew up Episcopalian. About halfway through, we switched to Anglican Episcopal because the church at some other church, had hired a gay bishop, and half of the church at our church was against it, so they separated. I probably attended church, not really like for the aspect of, finding faith or religion and all that stuff, but mainly just like because I had to or, it was just something to do. And I kind of just never really like got into it, and still to this day I'm very spectacle on like certain things with it. I understand that it's there to help some people have a moral background because they're not either able to do it themselves mentally or it's just a key. Like some people say, oh, it's a way of control. I just think it's a way of just giving people purpose that feel like they don't have it, even though they obviously probably do.
It's funny. It's such a touchy subject, that in politics.
Well, it's only touchy because people are afraid to admit that they're wrong, and that's the one thing. Like if I die because I'm not a religious person, like I'm very much into the scientific aspect of creation. That
I saw the all-seeing-eye tattoo.
Yeah, like that's a different whole other subject. But like I've always kind of just thought that the human beings, like we are the gods of our own world, and I think just kind of like how we're living now is kind of how you can either see it as if you live a good life, you are in heaven. If you live like a shitbag, or maybe just don't have the opportunities, then maybe you're in hell. But to me, once you die, it's lights out. I just think it's going to be like, and if I'm wrong, that's incredible. I wouldn't be upset because then I know that certain people that did die before me would be in a good place, and that would be enough closure for me, I feel, in the end, even though I wouldn't be happy with dying. But when it comes to it, like, I believe every single religion is kind of like guilty of the same thing that they accuse the other of doing. Like it's just a bunch of hypocrisy. At some point in time, it probably was used as a good overall message of which what I'm trying to say that it's probably taken as, because certain people do need a moral background or rules to live by, and that's fine with me. I don't care. But if you're really gonna explore your own religion and quote history and verses, you need to also be able to quote atrocities, blessings, good things, monstrous things that you have done. You can't talk about Christians are better than Muslims because Christians had declared the Crusades up to 8 or up multiple times at one point, and they sent children over there to die. And the Muslims aren't any better for their way of jihad or what they did, or even though they're taking back land that they grew up in, which is naturally theirs. If your religion says turn the cheek or talk, do that, don't kill innocent people. And every single religion is by far guilty of that.
Yeah, killing in the name of
probably. I think maybe like the Buddhists are one of the only ones that have a clear conscience. And if I'm wrong, then put the link on this, and I will gladly research it because I like to keep that open mind and hear about it. But for any like even the ancient religions and modern ones nowadays, it's like it's all geared towards, if you don't believe what we believe, we don't like you and you deserve to die. And that's bullshit.
Right. No,
because if you're going to really quote, that you are the divine ones, you want to do this and that, then it shouldn't, and then this thought of violence shouldn't come into your heart, into your mind.
It's sad. It's sad that we have those people out there.
But it's just like I said, because it's being used inappropriately, it's only used as a means of control rather than inspiration to live by. If it was done by that, then I think, there'd still be atheism in the world. There'd still be all these other things, but it would be just a more peaceful world. Like, you got to understand, like, we've been set back by religion before. All of them have set humanity back in some sort of way. Like, even with the Dark Ages, we lost 500 years. 500 years of technology that is gone. And who's to say that if there were ancient civilizations
how do you mean that? I'm just curious. Like, can you
because
explain that a little bit?
Because back in the day, like, thoughts of like science and modern medicine techniques were kind of seen as you're witchcraft and you're a heretic, because only the Lord's blessings will heal you. Ignorant thinking like that, by means of using it as control, kind of set us back 500 years. Look at Galileo when he was killed by the church for saying that I think it was I hope I got that right, but for saying that the sun is the center of our universe and the earth is somewhere over here, rather than back then it was the earth is the center, the earth is everything. And they were so unopen to the thought of that, because it went against dogma that the church is number one and all this stuff, that they couldn't have it kind of, I guess, merged it in with their conscious thinking and went with it to where it kind of made it to where they could roll with it. And they fucked up. They publicly admitted that they fucked up when they killed him. And I think they declared him a saint or blessed him or something. But that kind of thinking costs us a lot of time.
Now, let me ask you something, because you touched on a subject that's very I love to discuss. Okay, we talked about religion and we talked about Galileo and this round and flat Earth thing, and I'm not going to try to guide the conversation, but if it goes there, it goes there.
Well, I was kind of saying that the Earth is the center. If anyone truly believes that the Earth is flat, you're a fucking idiot, because there's no point at any time in modern science, like World War II, like Korea, Gulf War, like, even though they were all in separate regions, and in those regions, like, World War II was global. At that point in time, I'm pretty sure we'd have seen, like, the edge, or, like, if, think about it this way, we're separated like this, it would just be asinine for the fact that we would, like, have to fly just directly this way to go there. But when we're fighting Europe, we have to go all the way over here, and those two forces can't meet in between at that point, when there's flight logs and orders, which they have jumps from going to Europe, going to, say, like, one of the bases in the Mediterranean, and then going over there. How would you explain that if they're...
It's all explainable. Like, so let me just ask you a question. If the Earth, now entertain this with an open mind.
Yeah, of course.
If the Earth were flat, if it were, would it change your belief in religion?
No, because it's two different things in my opinion. Like, it wouldn't matter. Like, what does it matter? Okay, if it was created by a god in whatever the 7 days were, what would it matter if it was flat or if it was round? It wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't change anything. Like, in my opinion, it would have nothing to do with that. Like, those are two completely
You wouldn't
different.
find it odd that the Abrahamic religions state that the Earth is flat? Like, you wouldn't give any corroboration to canonical scripture? You wouldn't say, wow, maybe I should investigate more religion, because religion told us it was right. Like religion was right. Religion said, the Book of Enoch said, the Earth is flat. So my point is, you wouldn't give any more credibility to religion?
Here's the thing. Like, when it comes to those, like, obviously those are documented, because they're in tablets that are in the side of that are either in museums or they're in, it's like super, hidden locations that are in like mountains or that we're just finding. But one, I would just have to say, like, if they're thinking of it as being flat, is that they just weren't as technologically advanced to see otherwise.
But so here's
having said that some of these people have stones that are completely cut, even lines and all that. I just believe that maybe it was just an interpretation because they were not able to leave the atmosphere of the Earth like we have been able to and see the Earth as being a round sphere.
Now let me expand on that for just a second. I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Actually, I'm just going to be Bobby Thompson. So, several years ago, you and I thought exactly alike on this, right? And I thought I'm an intelligent person. I'm educated. I've been to some, I've been to college. I've been in the Air Force. I've been in the, and you can, if you would have told me there's a possibility the Earth was flat, I would have said, you're stupid. I just would have said, you're just stupid, bro. You're stupid. But then what happened is, let me explain. I'm going to share my journey, right? So what happened is, for several years, someone that I love investigated. Somehow they fall into this investigation of the flat Earth. And what happens is one leads to the next. But let's talk about the flat Earth for a second, because I said, I can't let my loved one think like this. I have a responsibility. I have to prove to them that the Earth is round. So I said, I should be able to debunk, right? I mean, flat earthers are stupid, right? I should be able to debunk them. I should be able to prove. I should be able to just, if all I have to do is take some of their theories seriously, and it's pretty serious, I can just prove it. So what I did was, I looked up the top 20 reasons, the top 20 ways to prove that the Earth is round. And I said, let me just go validate all those. Because today, and here's the interesting thing about it is, first off, the really crazy, unimaginable paradox is that our Earth does work round or flat. Like, all the math just happens to jive. Like, mathematically, and everything that you think wouldn't work, if you were to take it skeptically and just try it, it actually does work. Like, you can circumnavigate the Earth east to west. And then but in your head, you go, yeah, but you can't So when someone says something like that to you, like on a flat Earth if you look at it as a disc and you put the North Pole in the center and you would just fly due east or due west, you do hit the same spot again. It does work if you flatten it out into a plane. And then people go, so what happens is, in your head, and you've already had this pre-notation, is that you say, but you couldn't circumnavigate north to south. Well, we have never circumnavigated north to south. It has never happened. Look it up. It'd be so easy to verify. You could just go look it up. It's that easy. It's not. The only circumnavigation that's ever even claimed to have happened was someone claimed to went to the South Pole and then backtrack. So that's not, they didn't go in a circle. They went to the end and back. And then you say, well, can't we just do it today? Today, this is the irony, is that today, we have the technology to fly around the globe or the flat Earth, north to south. We can do it. The problem is that on a flat Earth model, Antarctica would be the wall, right? It would encompass the flat Earth. Ironically, Antarctica is the only landmass that isn't owned by a country. That's another irony, right? They have all these crazy ironies, right? We fight over any landmass. Do you know what makes perfect sense is that why couldn't you own Antarctica? Because you'd be the winner. You would have won at the game of Monopoly. For the U.S. to go, hey, dude, we own Antarctica. Every other country would say, shit, we're inside of his land. Do you understand the ramifications? There's an Antarctic treaty that stands for decades, and every country has signed that treaty. No country owns Antarctica. Now, the interesting thing is that treaty says it's a no-fly zone. You can't fly over it. It's nobody's allowed to fly over Antarctica. If you could prove the Earth were round, but no one's allowed to. There's all these things. Like, for example, another way you could prove the Earth were round. Every way you can prove the Earth is round today is science that you can't view. It's like science that's been proven by some scientist, right? Like you go, oh, well, muons, there's this decaying of muons that we can look at. And I'm like, having a conversation with a guy, well, have you ever seen a muon, or is this some scientist wrote this down? Or someone will go, well, you know it's round because we have gravity, but gravity would work on a flat plane as well. If you took a bar and said everyone lived on the bar, the center of mass is equal, it wouldn't pull, it would work, gravity would work the same. If you actually researched it, it would work the same. So then you go, well, we have photos of Earth from space. Actually, we don't. There's not one photo of Earth from space. And the ones that were provided are very easy to debunk that they're actually fake. But NASA won't even say that we have a photo of Earth from space. They admit that all of our photos are stitched together. We could very easily debunk the flat Earth by spinning around the Hubble, but they won't do that. Why? They don't give an explanation for it. You could prove that flat Earth, you can prove the Earth were round by tracking airplanes in the southern hemisphere on a flight tracker. But you can't do that.
We had talked about the sorry to interrupt, but the pictures about turning the Hubble around.
Yeah.
And I had found that they do take pictures from the Discover, and I looked into it, and those pictures look so fake.
Yeah, they're all fake. Well,
they look so fucked up.
They are all fake. And then you look at the moon landings, and if you were to research it, you'd find out that they were fake. Stanley Kubrick admitted to faking them, and The Shining is an admittal of his faking them. And if you even look at the footage, like if I brought up the 1965 footage right now of the first spacewalk, the first EVA, you'd say that's stop motion. That is absolutely fake. And then you've got Astronauts Gone Wild, and then you've got A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and then you look and say, well, we've got the ISS, we've got the International Space Station. All that footage is fake, and it's very easy. Like if we were to take any one of these topics, any one, and we were to focus on that one, and be skeptical of it and look at the evidence, you would come to the same conclusion. You'd go, that's fake. There's no reason for all these things to be fake today in 2018 if, according to our technology, where we are, we can very easily go into space. Yet we have not returned to the moon. We have not. And then you say, well, Elon Musk put a Tesla in space. He put a car in space. This was big news. That is faked, and it's debunked. It's very easy to prove it's fake. It's so easy. You can go out there and look at the Earth that's spinning in the background. They messed up and didn't change the image every day. So when it comes back around, it's the exact same clouds. It's the exact same. That's an impossibility. So we know his footage is fake. And my point is this: there are ways to prove that the Earth is round or flat from Earth. Mm-hmm. If you take from space, then that can be faked by our government, and then it comes a matter of, but we'll save that for a second. And then you say, well, how can I prove it from our Earth? Because today we are smart enough to do that. Any single way that you can think of to prove the Earth is round or flat from Earth.
So
works both ways.
So would every other planet be flat too?
No, every planet would be fake. So in the flat Earth model, as the best explanation they have is that they're luminaries in the sky. They're like it's like the best explanation right now. And keep in mind is that there would be a dome, and there'd be essentially a projection on the dome, or something following a track on the dome. Or don't think of it like a track, like it's following on something metal. But it does work. The model works. It actually does work. Everything about it, if you look into it, does work. Like, for example, Pythagoras is the one who came up with the idea that we can prove the Earth is round by taking these measurements, and that the sun is 93 million miles away. But the thing about it is if you shrink the size of the sun to 80 miles across, I think that's what it is, 80 or 81 or something like that, it works to be 5,000 feet high. The math works the same. Everything that we can do this is the really, really interesting part, is that the dimensions of everything, and it's the most coincidental thing in the world. It couldn't be more coincidental. That it just happens, the design of the Earth just happens to be so perfect that anything you can investigate actually works both ways. Like you go, well, let's look at the Pythagorean theory. Well, the Pythagorean theory actually works both ways, and even a mathematician will say it. And then there's been these experiments like the Equinox Challenge, where they said, well, let's take measurements from Earth, and we can verify the Earth is flat or round. Well, it works both ways. Everything you can do, every experiment would work both ways.
Well, what kind of thoughts would it change? What does it matter in the end? Like either which way, would it really change your life if you found out that either which one was true?
Absolutely.
Because we're being lied to. That's what.
Yeah. Further than that,
right?
Further than
But
that,
see, that would just make you question, like, what are we being lied to about? Like, what's really? It's almost so they're basically saying that we're on a stage. Essentially, we're
Truman
just
Show.
we're
Like a
just a
real
show.
life Truman
We're
Show. Not a show, hold on.
We're a bad television.
So let me give
That
you
goes
let me
into
give
the
you
simulation
let me give you a possibility of thought, and it's
conspiracy.
why you should want to investigate the flat Earth. It's why you should want to debunk it yourself. Here's a theory of thought. First off, let's just say that you did if you researched it and you came to your own conclusion, which, believe it or not, most people that actually put the time into researching it and they actually come to the conclusion that the Earth is flat. Most people do. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm a relatively intelligent person. I've taken like several IQ tests, Mensa. They all ironically put me at 135, which puts me in the top 2%, which says I'm extremely gifted and just under genius. If I can do the research and I come to the conclusion that that flat earthers are winning. I mean, honestly, if I look at all the evidence, I have to say flat earthers are winning. Then what I have to look at. So what happens is 3 years ago I was an atheist. Mm-hmm. I grew up Christian or Baptist, actually, what's called Lutheran Baptist. And
the worst.
I know. I went every Sunday because I was rewarded with Bob Evans, and that was my dad was like, "You want that Bob Evans?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." You know, he never
really
made me
good?
go.
Get some Jesus and
It's
some
pretty
eggs.
good.
it
Back
good
then
eat?
it was. So
it's just funny.
But I was actually atheist. I was
Yeah.
like, or agnostic, I should say. But then when I started looking at the flat Earth, and I said, let me just entertain this. If the Earth were flat, I read this fascinating scripture called the Book of Enoch. It's fascinating, and Enoch walked with the story behind Enoch is that they called him the scribe of God. He was the only human that God didn't let experience death. God loved him so much that he took him into heaven. And Enoch was Noah's father, according to the Book of Enoch, and he was the 7th generation of Adam. Methuselah was his father, if I remember all this right. And he told Noah to build the boat, and he gave Noah all this knowledge. But he wrote this book called the Book of Enoch, and it's supposed to be his. But what he talks about is the flat Earth. He talks about the firmament above the flat Earth. He talks about the under it, what they call Sheol, which is the chasm, which is what would be hell, and the souls under it. And he talks about life and death, and he asks God, can spirits be destroyed? And God says no spirit will be destroyed. And, in the end, you'll be judged. There'll be a consummation. And if you were good, then you go to this chasm for the righteous, and if you were bad, you go to this chasm for the sinners. And then they have a different chasm for the spirits. And then in the end, there'll be a consummation, and the righteous will be given back earth, and you'll be able to. It's an amazing, amazing book, but if the Earth turned out to be flat and there were a dome over it, holy shit! It means that the Book of Enoch is 100% accurate. And the real thing is that the really amazing thing, what really flips your ass out, is that the Book of Enoch was part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's I don't know, thousands of years old. Don't quote me on that. It's old. It talks about some science that he shouldn't have. He talks about the way the stars move, the way the sun moves. He talks about the number of hours in a day and the number of days in a year, and how we have to have, how they don't quite line up exactly. Like he knew some shit, and he claimed that he was given this knowledge. He was allowed to eat from the tree of knowledge, or something like that. But it's an amazing book. I've listened to the Book of Enoch 4 times now. I don't prefer to read it. I like to lay in bed. That's how I go to sleep. I listen to the Book of Enoch. Or I'm doing work around the house, and I'll put on my headset and with my phone. And for me, it's the most fascinating book I've ever listened to. It's absolutely fascinating, and it should be part of canonical scripture. It was actually taken out of the Bible, is my understanding. The Ethiopian Christianity or Catholicism left it in. It's actually part of their canonical scripture. But if there were a flat Earth, this would change. If people became aware. If the Earth were flat, and if people did become aware of it, you would absolutely know that this is nothing more than a test here to see if you're good or bad. and that absolutely you're going to join your loved ones again. Absolutely. You would know that. So I can't see how anyone wouldn't research it. And I can't see.
But for all the people that have been either brainwashed or taught differently, once they die or they've done like what they thought, like how are they judged? Is it kind of like he's like, oh, yep, you never believed in shit, you're a douchebag, bah. But you weren't a prick your whole life.
No, it's not about believing. It's not about.
I'm just saying, like, how would they treat that? Like, if like for me, I'm not religious at all. I don't attend. I don't believe any of that stuff. If I was wrong, like I said, I would be happy that I was wrong.
I don't think you could be. My opinion.
I would just hope that if we're an experiment like that, then whoever is conducting the experiment would have that open mind to be like, okay, these guys are kind of stupid, so they might, this guy might kill this guy because his shoes are better, like that, fucking idiotic shit like that. These guys are capable. This race of human beings is capable of that shit, and by race I mean the entire race. And I would hope that it's just like even if you were a devout follower of your beliefs, but you killed people or you did terrible things or took advantage of people, that you were the one sent to hell rather than the guy who didn't believe in anything but was a good person his whole life.
If you ask me about belief, I think that you can't be penalized for ignorance, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
You weren't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to get at.
If God showed His face through heaven, everyone would be perfect, right? You'd be like, oh crap, I don't want to burn in hell.
But isn't that what He would want?
No, because no. So as I start to research, as I do more research, and I give thought to all these things of like what if one what if leads to another one what if. God created us with free will, all right, and He loved us. We are His children. But the problem is, He can't see what kind of being you are without the temptation of sin, right? Like He can't. He created you, but if you could create something, and if you don't give it free will, you're just creating a robot. You have to give something true free will for it to actually be able to love you and for you to be able to love it, right? So sin is the only test of true free will. There's no, without the possibility of sin, if He just created a planet or, our domain and just said, there's no pain, there's no suffering, everyone lives forever. Well, of course, everyone's going to be great. Like, there's no need to sin against you. I don't have, it's like, I got a house, I got a car, I live forever, I got all my loved ones here, they're all here. Then everyone is a saint. And everyone, what He wanted to do was to give you the option, or to earn your love, He said no soul will be destroyed. He said that. And I don't think He intends, my interpretation is that He doesn't intend to make people pay. Because here's the thing, one of the things He says...
Well, how big is this damn catacomb? Because last time I checked, it was like almost like 13, 14 trillion people or something like that.
We're at 7 billion. 7 point something billion last I looked. 7 point something billion.
Well, yeah, I was way far, but still to the point. That better be a big ass freaking hole in the ground, because that's...
Well, if you just look at Earth right now, everyone could live comfortably in Alaska or Texas. Everyone. Like, I don't know if you've researched that. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Well, for the parts that are habitable, but it would take you
could spread out everyone on this Earth is way more than enough space for 7 billion. Way. Like that's the real irony. I didn't know that. You could actually put everyone comfortably in Alaska, or this is how big the Earth is. Like, I didn't know it until you can listen to really, really intelligent people talk about this, people that have credentials to back up what I'm saying, is that you can put 7 billion people in Texas and they can live comfortably. You could put 7 billion people and you have a nice yard, a nice home. Now imagine the rest of the world. Now, the Earth is immense beyond measure. I mean, it is absolutely insane to think about it. If it were a dome, the center, the top of it would be about 3,200 miles high, at the center and the top, and the sun would go around somewhere around 3,000 miles high, and that's what the measurements come up to. That's when they measure the sun, right? But it's ironic because I was studying geodesic domes. I did some studying, and I just typed in, like, in 3D space. I don't know if you know this, but 6 times 6 times 6 is a measurement for a geodesic dome. How ironic is that? Like this signature of 6 times 6 times 6 is everything. The other day I was like, a dome would be a geodesic shape. So I just started looking up. I'm like, let me just type in geodesic dome 6 times 6 times 6. And what do you come up with? An amazing dome. And that irony exists all throughout the design of our supposed construct that we're in. The speed of the Earth, science says it's 66,600 miles an hour. The axis of the Earth, science says it's at 66.6 degree tilt. The size of the moon or the Earth, one of them, is supposedly 6 times 6 times 6 times 10, 2160 miles. That's the size of the moon. The size of the sun, 6 times 6 times 6 times 1,000 or something like that.
So with the old civilizations that we all know used to be around, why would you say that they got just completely wiped out? Was it kind of like an eraser board on the sandbox, like, okay, let's
so that's actually, I'll explain,
give
in the book of
another
Enoch.
Generation of humans, give it a shot, like, or is it just constantly like every generation of our species are we given a certain different kind of DNA trait that is inhibited, like, or spread out throughout our genome? Is it possible for the fact that it's kind of just we're just sick experiments, and sooner than later we're just gonna phase out, and then another, maybe like one of the other generations before us gets another shot at it, and we're stuck in those catacombs, like you were saying?
I'm convinced technology is going to take over. We're getting, with these.
I will say this: if it does,
AI.
I would love to be a cyborg. I would be the first. Like, I would. That shit would be cool as fuck.
Transhumans, when you research it more and more, like, I thought transhumanism would be super cool. Like, if I could augment my brain with a chip and I could do math in like real time, like any mathematical equation, I could just instantly
sign me up.
At first it sounds cool, but so this is a problem, because if you start looking at the Earth as a test and religion exists, and that is unethical, honestly. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. Like, in my belief system of what if you just follow the line of ifs, right? If you were to do that, and then you were to come to the point that, oh, God put us on this planet, and then you start looking at turning yourself into like what's the word? I don't want to say a robot, but something that's half human and half robot. I think there's a word for that,
like a cyborg.
A cyborg, yeah,
like
cyborg or a
type
humanoid
deal.
or something like that. I think that would be sinning against God. I do. Like, what? Because you're not who you are.
But wouldn't he praise you for having the intellect to get that far? Don't you think at some point in time he would be like,
the question
damn, that's
is
pretty good.
Yeah, the question is,
how far does it be until it's blasphemous?
Right. Is it like spanking your child, or is it like, it's like, my point is, like, it's not killing someone, right? It's not an unforgivable sin. But
I see it as the further we can strengthen our species and how we're able to survive longer and better, terraform like certain environments to make it where we can live there. I think it's something that should be. Like, it should be praised, because just the fact that, we are able to get to the point we're at is because of intellectual thinkers and people that have tried and failed. We don't really have that too much anymore. Seeing by how things are going, like with the whole social media craze, it already kind of seems like that's already happening. Like, everyone's already linked together, because even with our friend over there on his phone.
Well, I'm looking up something.
Everyone, I'm just using that example. I'm not gonna get me, but everyone is connected. Like before I even came here, I left my phone at the gym. I was like, I gotta go get my phone. Mm-hmm. And it's like we're all nosy. We're all interested in what's going on with someone else's. Because in a way, like, if you look at it like that, it can be seen as we're that person up there doing the same thing. We're just doing it on a minor scale. Looking at how other people conduct themselves. And just when it comes to, you look up videos of other people fighting, talking, teaching, it's the same thing. You're just seeing what they do differently and how they would take it. You just don't have the erase board where you can just be like, and take it all away, because that person's conscious opinion is still there.
Well, here's the really mind-numbing thing, is you said, well, are we all wiped out? Well, according to the book of Enoch, Enoch told Noah he knew of the flood. The flood was God's plan to wipe at least the Nephilim spirits out, these giants that were created by the Watchers, the angels, that chose to take this the children of man and have children with them. But where it gets more interesting is that supposedly, well, you have to wonder, did only Noah's downline survive, or were there other people that somehow survived this flood, and is there good and evil? Well, it leads you to believe, the book of Enoch leads you to believe that there is good and evil, and that at least the spirits that aside of Azazel, who was cast into some deep chasm and covered with stone so he could never see sunlight again, like Azazel's seat, his fate was signed, right? Like his was like God said, no, he's done. Where it gets really interesting is that when Enoch's talking with God in this book, God kind of says he knows all outcomes. He knows the past and the future. Time for him is
irrelevant because it's
now,
man-made.
This is the crazy part, is that God would have had to have known that this was going to happen. When he created it, he had to know Azazel was going to do this. This is the really interesting part. Because I started asking myself, and what made me think of that is I started asking myself, if God created this structure, this construct we're in, where you can find 666 and everything, which he said is the number of the beast, why wouldn't it be God's signature on everything? Why would the signature be, because the signature on everything that's put on everything in space and science and on our earth is clearly a non-coincidental to me. It's like a ridiculous amount of 666s, right? That's some satanic stuff. And that is the sign of Azazel. That is the sign of the fallen angel, the one that talked the other ones into making this pact together to have children with the children of God. So I said, if God created it, why would Azazel's signature be on everything? And wouldn't that be ironic if God knew that Azazel was going to do this and kind of put that in the creation, like for Azazel to see later, like kind of God's way of saying to Azazel, I knew you were going to do it. He put that signature on everything to kind of show Azazel, because Galileo is quoted as saying the universe was written in the language of mathematics. And it truly is. And if you look, it's 666 is everywhere.
Right. It's the language of creation in a way. You got to look at it like that, because mathematics can be tied into everything, like almost everything.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And
having said that, I fucking hate math.
If you look at the amount of 666, and I don't know if you know this, but like I'm a huge fan of Zechariah Sitchin, and now some of my work is tying these two together. And I'm going to close with this because I know I've kind of taken over, and that wasn't the point here. But I'm going to close with this.
Hey, conspiracy theories, bro.
in Sumerian beliefs of like the gods, that what came down wasn't.
How do you say it's like the
Anunnaki.
Anunnaki.
So yeah. Zechariah Sitchin translated everything as saying, they came down as aliens. They were Anunnaki. They presented themselves as space travelers, and he said the Anunnaki went by numbers, right? Like instead of names, everyone had a rank as a number. And I thought that was very coincidental. I thought, wow, so in their system, there would be a number 1 and a number 666.
Where do they come from then? If there's if the stars are a lie,
all right,
the planets are a lie.
Exactly. Hold on. Now, this is the twist. This is something that I think other people have stumbled. I haven't looked at other people's theory on this, but I'd be willing to bet their theory matches my theory, because then I'm like, man, I've been in this huge. Either Zechariah Sitchin is wrong in his translation of all the Sumerian tablets, or there's some bullshit going on here. But then I started thinking, how could the two tie together and corroborate each other? Let's look at that. And I was like, wow, let's think about it. If you were let's just say you were a watcher, what he called them, or an angel, whatever you want to call it, and you and 199 others, 200 of you were told to watch over this domain. That was your task. You're told, watch over this domain, which is what the case was. And you said, damn, these women are fine. They thought God couldn't see. Of course, God knew the outcome. And they said, now, if you were going to go down, here's the thing is these creatures had the intelligence of modern man. We were built intelligently. We just weren't given certain knowledge. So we're skeptical and we're intelligent. And these beings come down and they take a human form. Could they come down and go, here's the explanation. Like, oh, where are you from? Well, we work for the guy that created all this, and we're not supposed to mate with you. Or would it be better for them to come down and go in a human form, and the women go, where are you from? Oh, we traveled from another galaxy. My point is that you couldn't tell the truth. Like if you were an angel, your job was to watch this. If you told the truth, you'd have to tell them that they're not allowed to interfere. You understand? You'd have to go. It presents a very big problem. You would come down and go, listen, God put me here to watch over you. There's this creator who created you, and I'm not supposed to interfere, but you're fucking fine, and we need to.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time someone's lied to get some booty.
Yeah. So my point is,
Just
the
saying.
story would imagine these guys, these entities would have to come down and present some other story. They really would, if you think about it. They would. It could be the greatest lie ever told, which led to the greatest lie ever told, which led to the greatest lie ever told. I'm a skeptic about all things, but
They could create a company called SpaceX and Tesla cars. I mean, he could be alien too.
my thing is that
There's always that thought. Crackpot theories.
The super smart ones, I think. Are.
I just don't understand why we can't fly over Antarctica. I don't understand why we have to fake ISS footage. I don't understand why we have to fake footage of planets. I don't understand why SpaceX has to provide fake footage of the Earth. I don't understand why we can't see planes fly in the southern hemisphere. I mean, it makes sense if it's flat. All these things that we can't understand, if it were flat, make perfect sense.
I don't understand how people that want to take me outside. How about that? Are famous and make millions. You know what I mean? We're just a stupid race of people. We are. You know what I mean?
It's not that we're stupid. It's just that we're just ignorant. And going into what was you're saying, like with the culture shit.
Yeah.
Our culture shit right now. And it can be viewed, either it's evolving to something different, and I might just be like what I always thought I would never be, and I'm the guy that's saying like, oh, your stuff's shit, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's the culture changes all the fucking time, and it's just crazy to think that some ways of thinking now are just completely out the window. But now, like these thoughts of like how we're saying now about different theories about how creation is, you would be killed on the spot saying that. Like the church would literally
blasphemous,
kill you, torture you, and kill you. And it's good that technology and the changes of opinion and culture have got it to where it can do that, but
I'm curious to see what our conversations would be like 20 years from now, right? What would we learn?
All we really are, like the song is, we're just dust. Like there's not like you can carry on with what you're doing and just know you can make the impact you want, but regardless of the fact, it is 150 to 200 years from now.
To be so different. Look at what's changed in the last 100 years, the last century, right?
That's saying
a lot of technology has changed.
Crazy.
It's a very pessimistic statement, though, to say that we're just dust.
We are just dust.
No, because you're leaving out the fact. Well, you're leaving out.
Cool. We can build some pyramids and some giant buildings, but I mean, that's astounding. But at the same time,
But you're leaving out the possibility of us being souls. We're more than just if we are spirits. Sorry, that's what Enoch and God called us, was spirits. If we are a spirit, then we are more than just dust.
It's one of those things where if I'm wrong, I'm cool with being wrong. But until I actually see for what it is, I'm gonna always think that it's just.
But you still believe in like karma and being a good person and like
of
how
course,
you treat others.
But I don't need.
You don't think that?
I don't need a religion to do that for me, to show me that, because I was raised to have respect and to treat others the way I want to be treated. Now, do I have outbursts where like I go completely apeshit or batshit crazy? Yeah, everyone in my opinion is just a little bit crazy, especially females. Anyways, the whole point of me like really just thinking that way is like because you can be a great person, and hopefully the outcome is you do go to that that part of the wherever with your soul or spirit. But if I'm thinking this way, then I'm thinking this way. It's almost kind of like in football when the defense is offsides, you get free play. You go and you can throw a bomb if you want. Doesn't matter what happens. If it's like that, then I'm in the realm that I want to be at because I can be skeptical and I can be judgment. And as long as I'm not cutting people's fucking heads off. Yeah,
absolutely.
Or, excuse me for saying this, but going and raping some fucking, like, girl or being just being a terrible person, robbing people, stealing, like, just overall being a complete dickhead, like trafficking, like, fentanyl or heroin or something like that. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things out there.
I'm not going to get sent to y'all that version of hell because while I was asking questions, you can't kill me for being curious.
Yeah.
If you've put it all on the line like that and you're just judging my overall character, you cannot put me down for even being skeptical or thinking, yeah, that sounds like a crock of shit. And I've thought that multiple times because even when I'm in a church and they say you feel that euphoric feeling of God with you when you sing the sermons or you talk to the preacher or you accept the flesh and the blood and the blood, I have never felt anything, not a single drop of aura or like saying like I've never like there's nothing. Like I felt absolutely
that's
neutral.
suggestive programming, if you ask me. I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's completely my opinion. My opinion. But all I'm just saying is, if it's like that, and I'm being judged that way, there's nothing wrong with my opinion. And the fact that some people say, "Well, that's blasphemous. You're gonna rot for that." If it's seen like that, then I'm fine. I have a free play call, and as long as I'm not, doing harmful things or producing fake information in other means to twist someone else's opinion to what I want to believe, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm completely guilt-free of any conscious thought I'm going to have because I'm just trying to expand beyond my mind to find out what's going on.
Just a suggestion is if you have some spare time and you're bored, just try to debunk that the Earth is
I'll definitely look into it because it's kind of interesting, and when it's viewed, see, here's my thing: if you come at me with an argument where you have references, you have background information, and you essentially sound and know what you're talking about, I'm gonna respect your opinion. I'm gonna listen to it. It's gonna interest me. If it's more along the lines of like, hey man, this is it. Yeah. This is how it is, like blah, 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 and you force your knowledge upon me, I'm just going to completely one ear and out the other. I'm not going to listen to you because you're forcing your beliefs upon me. If you come with that open attitude as to, well, this is why I see it as, and it's quoted here, most of the time I'm just going to shut up and listen because I'm interested. If you're coming at me with real knowledge and saying, oh, well, this celebrity said, I don't give a shit what a celebrity says. They got more money than they know what to do with. They have time to, or whatever kind of thing they're in to do that, and that's where I want to be, not for the fame and for the glory. I just want to know.
Like for example,
I just want to know what the fuck's going on.
For example, the first piece of evidence I looked at, this is the number one, right? This is what kind of led me to number 2 and then 3 and 4, and I'm only going to talk about one because I don't want the whole show, but let's just look at one. People said, if you look at the number one evidence, it's always that if you watch a ship sail, it goes over the curvature of the Earth. If you just watch it sail off, it goes. There's not one video on you. You can. So what sees farther than our eyesight is telescopes and binoculars. Telescopes. So they use high-powered cameras and they take the ships that have sailed over, quote unquote, sailed over the curvature, and they just bring them right back in, even at 50 miles out. So at 50 miles out. If you look at science says that the drop is like 0.666 feet per mile squared. It's something like that. All right.
The Earth being that massive, is it really? Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah. People.
Like, I don't know if the math works. That's what I'm skeptical about.
The math is correct because people have taken. So I've watched people take CAD. And they've made a 25,000 mile ball. You can do this with computers. Like the cool thing is with CAD, you can go make me a sphere that's 25,000 feet. Now let me sit on top of it.
That's equal to that.
Well, no. What they do then is you can measure curvature because you have that three-dimensional image.
You know what I've always thought, like, speaking of like the whole 666 thing in mathematics, like I've always seen that kind of in, like, going back to jiu-jitsu, I've seen that in jiu-jitsu as well. I kind of see it as everything like acts in accordingly of the 3 seconds, rather it's just the regular 3 seconds that we know, or 3 milliseconds, microseconds, however you want to see it as. I view every single movement as done as that. And that's why, like, you want to incorporate math into it, especially when we used to train takedowns. Everything, in my view of opinion, is the movement is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you can act on what you're doing. Because after every 3 seconds, in my opinion, there's a change. Something's different. Like, either the weight is distributed a certain different way, or the speed, or the knowledge, or just the energy is gone.
That's interesting.
But I've always thought it, because even when we did the drills, I would count in my head, like 1, 2, 3. Why is it always 3? Why is it always 3? Why is it 1, 2, and 3? And I've
Okay, let me show you. Let me show you example. Like, I didn't even think about this. Remember, we was talking about all the 0.666, 0.666, 0.666. 1 mile. You can go to any Earth curvature calculator. 1 mile, they rounded here. 0.666. They just rounded to 0.67 feet. They just rounded. That's actually round. The real number is 0.666. And I didn't even think about that. Like, when you sometimes you're talking about these numbers, you read over and you're like, there are so many 666s in the design that it cannot be coincidental. It's like a being with an intelligence that trumps ours times a million. He's so intelligent, he designed this structure and put 666 in everything. It's in the size of the Earth, the size of the moon, the size of the sun, the distance from the sun to the moon. It's in the curvature of the Earth. It's in everything. I mean, way beyond any shadow of coincidence. But that's the sign of Azazel. That is his number. That's Azazel's number, right? Now the question is, did Azazel laugh at us and put all this in science? Like, how do we know it's this? Well, because science said so. So is this people working in conjunction with Azazel and saying, kind of, let's put it in everything? Or was it the grand creator saying, Azazel, one day you're going to look back and I knew you were going to do this? Is it his way of saying, you kind of betrayed me and I knew you were going to do it? But either way, that 666 is, and when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. Just look into it. It's well beyond coincidence. It's not, there's no coincidence.
Right.
In my opinion. I'm allowed to have that opinion. I can't be wrong in my opinion. Right,
of course.
Okay, so I tend to turn every podcast into a flat earth. So let's leave flat earth. Let's leave the flat earth. We can't do that, really. I wish we could leave the flat earth, but actually we can't leave the flat earth. Now, I define woke as any knowledge that you have or any belief that you have that's not mainstream. Okay, for example, I think if you have recognized that sugar is the worst thing, it was like a lie done to us, and you've done everything to do, I think that's kind of woke.
The American Parasite, right? That video?
Yes.
Yeah, ever since I watched that video, I fucking I was like, oh,
Parasite.
hell
He's
no.
woke. See, he's woke on sugar.
I was like, nah, I ain't doing that shit. So every time I try, like I said earlier, like when it came to
I forgot about that video. I can't believe you just brought that back up, man.
Bro, like that shit literally, like, I've cut
Watch it.
that
Watch
shit will
it.
actually, it helps you cut weight, it helps you
Yep.
be more healthy. But the point being of what I'm saying is, when you mention lifestyles, I was like, I try to keep my intake under like 12 grams. I try, and unfortunately that shit's in everything. So every single day, like, unless you're making your food from scratch, it's gonna happen. Even with fructose and the good sugar, you still go over that limit. But so that's a health and hygiene, like whatever.
So again, I want to get back to the definition of woke. Definition of woke could be you don't ingest fluoride because you believe that fluoride was attributed to the Nazis, and or another definition of woke could be you think JFK was an inside job, or you think 9/11 was an inside job. Like, basically, woke being, to me, something that you've researched on your own and you have a non-mainstream belief system. What things do you consider yourself woke on? Could be spiritual, could be government, political, could be whatever. Or do you subscribe to any non-mainstream beliefs?
When it comes to like the whole mainstream thing of beliefs, like I'm not like, I don't like if it comes to woke, like I'm very conscious about the whole sugar thing.
So I mean, I think you're woke on sugar. Just
when it comes to that, how we touched on the religion thing, I believe that I'm kind of in that book too with the way I feel. There are some things that like even like though I'm kind of have a feeling that I'm just like this and that or should be or why is this going about this way. I tend to just kind of look at it like everything and just say like okay like there's something else to this. There's always a flip of the card. Something's behind this. Something's like would this be this way if I was looking the other way? Like to me, it's always I question everything. I am the most paranoid fucking person on the fucking world. So I always like someone will be driving next to me real fast. I'll be I'll be like, what the fuck's his problem? Like small shit. Like I always will see these small little things, and I'll always think, like, man, what the fuck is going on? Like like why is this like this? I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Like it just seems fake. And I sometimes I would research it. Sometimes I would just kind of accept it for what it is and just be like, okay, that's just like that. I'm not gonna. I'm not going to dabble into it either because I just don't care or it's too much at the time for me to process.
Do you watch the news like daily? Like in the morning?
No, the news is just fake bullshit to me, and I can't like. Don't get me wrong. Like if I want white noise in the background, I'll turn the news on. If I want to hear about like the weather, because sometimes I guess that's accurate. But
I don't think it is. I think they get.
It gives me a general. But I'm just saying it just kind of. I'll take that opinion from it. But that's about it, man. Because other than that, that shit is depressing as fuck.
Hell yeah.
I am already a depressed fucking person. I've been depressed mostly my entire life. It comes in spurts where I just have it. Once it's clicked, I'm in it for a while.
Have you ever looked into psilocybin?
Because
that they claim it cures.
I understand that. I'm just when it comes to taking stuff for the mental aspect, I just kind of see it as if I can't overcome it, then I don't need to be taking anything for it. It's kind of an ignorant way of thinking about it because I'm shunning away things that could work and like could open up a new like kind of way of thought or just kind of help my my brain like. If you comprehend something, but to me, it's like I'm never against it, but at the same time, like I kind of view that kind of stuff as like an enlightenment tool. I'll use it to feel like if I want to like have like kind of that out of body like experience with myself, and that's something that I like to do like around with myself. For me to do that kind of stuff and open up my brain like that. For me to be around people, I feel awkward. I feel really awkward, and I only want to just start writing shit down. And a lot of times, I'll just write it down in a circle, just like this, and I have no idea what I'm writing. At the time, it makes complete sense to me, but when I look at it the next day, it's not even English. Like it's like, what the fuck am I doing? But that's taking it to the extreme of like seeing those type of things. Like microdosing, I've heard is incredibly good for you, and I've had multiple people say have great things about, and it's still just something I just don't really have like that much of an interest in because I'm just so set in the routine of like just getting over it, or like when I am have my depressed moments or get hit with it. I just kind of have to get my own way out of it, and it sucks because sometimes I ruin moments and I bring people down. It's never meant like that, but it's just kind of a mental thing. Like I've always had that kind of issue. I've always kind of pulled my way out of it, done something to get out of it, but the slump always comes back. It's I'm a guy that where like I lost everything when I was younger when my dad was sick and he passed away. Like literally everything is gone. I had a beautiful I lived in a beautiful house in a country club. I was on the swim team, like blah, blah, blah. Like it was just a picture made, like suburban, like white kid. Like it was perfect. My life was perfect. I was raised great by two hardworking parents. Well, it got taken from me. And, that's fate. But as you can say, like with your person that's, judging us up there, maybe it's a test to test my character and to see if I would really go down like a good path or if I would rebuild myself. And I would definitely say I went down a bad path for a couple years. I wasn't, listening. I would even, the people that were with me, and we were all equally doing the stupid shit or doing the fun stuff that we thought was fun, but it was really kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. you know, it's just in that particular moment where it was kind of like, damn, I recognize that like this isn't for me. It took getting in trouble with the law. It took finding jiu-jitsu for me to have that grounding basis. But I would have to say, when it comes to looking back at what I've went through and what I've become now, I am a success, because while, you know, the nail's still not hitting the coffin, I'm at least 6 feet deep. And I don't mean that in a way of you know, suicide or, you know, killing myself or killing anything in that aspect. I just kind of using it as a reference of saying, from what I was and what I probably could have turned out to be, I changed it and became what I am now. And I'm not a perfect person. I still, like I said, I have the feats of, you know, like, you know, depression. Like sometimes I can be like a little quick in judgment and impulsive. And, you know, no one's perfect, but if it comes to like microdosing and doing all that stuff just to fix that problem, I don't want to do it. I kind of see it as like, I just kind of got to deal with what I have. And, you know, it's just like, you know, I smoke weed like almost every single day. Most of the time I just do it because it's habitual now. It's just part of like you know, it's like my cigarette mostly. It's kind of hard to explain how I kind of feel about the way, but like, you know, I'm not against people that do it, people that have the time.
Do you when you smoke today, do you function fine in a group of people?
Yeah, like it's like almost like I could.
Would you say you function better, or no? It's just neutral.
It's neutral, and it kind of depends on the strand that I smoke. If it's an indica, like I'll definitely like be tired and be kind of disinterested in doing any type of like hard like exercise or work. Sativa is completely different. Like I can smoke that and then I can just go about and do anything I want. But, you know, I'm not saying this as a reference to go smoke weed. Like, honestly, if you don't smoke, don't smoke.
Yeah, I think
you're fucking up your lungs regardless of how, you know, what kind of medicine it is. If you eat it or you take it as the CBD drops or just the oil, as long as you're not smoking it, you know, I would see it as probably not being as that bad. Honestly, that's the only thing I can say is, if you haven't started smoking, don't start. Like, there's no fucking point. If you really want to have that euphoric feeling, just eat the damn edibles. Know your limit, and because if you want to stay alive and do and make that impact, and, you know, have that good character to be judged, you're shortening your lifespan. And I've realized, and I've accepted, I've shortened my lifespan doing it. And
now I've got a question, because there's something I have never done with cannabis.
What, eating it?
No. I've you know, I've never I've had a ton of friends tell me that when they smoke and roll, they roll better. Is that true?
It depends. It depends on how you're rolling and how you're doing, because if you're doing it as an aspect of like kind of just setting up like slow motion, trying techniques that'll work, yeah, it can. But if you're really training, like, it's gonna fuck up your breathing. It's gonna fuck up. So like, if you really want,
I notice a lot of people.
If you really want to be high when you roll, then I would say along the lines of just eat an edible, but eat a small amount to where your body's not completely relaxed. Because if your body's relaxed, then you could get hurt doing it. But I mean, I've done it several times. The only thing I would say is an hour before, don't smoke, because it's gonna fuck your breathing up. You're probably not going to have as much of an athletic performance as you wanted. You're going to be like, oh, fuck, why do I feel so damn tired? Why am I breathing so heavy? And it's because you smoke. It's because your lungs are still agitated.
But let's not talk about the physical side.
Right.
I've got friends who come in and say...
So you're talking about just like the mental aspect of smoking.
Yeah, they said they roll better, like their brain kind of sees jiu-jitsu differently.
I still think it depends, because I will never go into a tournament stoned. I will never, like, I will complete. I have to be 100%. I won't smoke I won't. I have before, and then the outcome was terrible. I got my ass kicked. But when it comes to a tournament, don't do it. Focus on what you need to do, and keep on your game plan. Don't distract yourself. If you want to do it afterwards, hey, fuck it, go for it. But like, when it comes to
do you know any successful people that do that smoke and compete? Have you ever met anyone like that? I haven't. I'm just curious.
I've met a couple people that train very well, but at the same time, like, if they're smoking a shitload of weed, like the day before their fight, I haven't really known too many people to be able to be consistent.
Have you seen the High Rollers tournament? Are you
I
familiar with that?
have. I think it's awesome. I think it's kind of funny, and I think it's cool. But if that's in the aspect of the rules, then then it's on.
Would that be kind of cool,
but
right?
Then
Like
it's on
get stoned out with your opponent,
right? But then it's on equal terms.
Yeah.
I'm not, because a lot of times if it's just me walking in stony baloney and shit, and the other dude and the other guy's like, as sober as a Christian nun. Obviously, his mind's probably a little bit more clear than mine. I'm probably drifting off into this, into that, or if I am focused in on it. He's still got a clearer mindset than me, and if you think that's false, then I don't see how it is, because you are under the influence of something.
Were you there? Like I had a friend. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, and every story is very. This is kind of a sensitive story for me because I own a school. I have kids that train with me, but. I don't know if you remember this once. My back was killing me. I've got several.
Are we talking about Wreck-It Ralph?
And you know the story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there though when one of my students comes in, and I had never eaten cannabis. I'd never done it. Believe it or not, at this time I'd never done it. And one of my students comes in, and he's like, "Man, your back will feel perfect." I was in a lot of pain, and he said, "Just eat this cookie or brownie cookie, yeah, cookie." And I thought, he's like, "But so." I'm thinking, my interpretation of cannabis from being younger and prior experiences was that I always thought that it was the chemical reaction of the burning. Like I was like, why don't we just eat joints? It's like you smoke it because it's the chemical reaction. Otherwise, dudes would just eat the joint, right? Like, so when this student said, "Hey, just eat this cookie and you're gonna feel really good," and I was like, I didn't at the time understand that cannabis had this very powerful effect of pain relief. I didn't notice that. You're kind of euphoric.
No.
Have you ever smoked?
Back
when you were younger?
When I was younger, yeah, but no.
The weed's completely different. It's a lot more potent.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Times have changed.
Well, due to my job and my stuff.
Have you ever tried? No. Don't try. Go with my earlier statement and don't fucking do it.
Don't do drugs.
So
you'll probably just be that girl like.
So going on, I didn't think this cookie
That's how I sounded when I first
was gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna do anything to me. Like,
so you ate the whole thing. I can imagine
so
that was probably not that.
You couldn't even taste it. Honestly, I'm like, it didn't even taste like anywhere else in there. So I kind of eat the cookie. I'm like 3 ways through. He's like, "Hey, bro, I wouldn't eat that whole cookie." And I'm like, I didn't smoke it, and it's a tiny cookie. Ate the cookie.
Small things come in big packages.
There were
my
kids
friend.
in that class, and all of a sudden I'm teaching, and it hit me. And I was on Mars. I'm telling you, all of a sudden, within like a minute, I'm on Mars, and there's people running around me and little kids running, and I'm just like, holy cow, what did I just get myself into? So I just kind of sit up against the wall, right? I'm like sitting up against the wall, and I'm supposed to be teaching, and Chin's having to defend for me because one of the parents is like, "What's up with Bobby?" And she's like, "He took some pain pills. His back's pretty bad. I think he's she's over there covering for me." But that was the one time, right? And I had. Again, I was in pain, right?
Sure,
and I had a student that's offered a solution, and I thought, well, I'll try it, right? I'll try I went home that night. This thing was so powerful. I went home, and I watched Wreck-It Ralph for the first time with my wife. I watched
And he
Wreck-It
cried.
Ralph.
You cried?
I
He
cried.
cried his
I
eyes
sobbed,
out.
man.
He was told he could
cried
never
for Wreck-It
do that
Ralph, bro.
again.
So
That's awesome. You had a
let
great
that be a
trip.
lesson.
Yeah, he
man.
set
Like,
you up.
You've never had an edible.
He should have said that from the get-go.
Like, quarter of that cookie.
But having said that, I don't edibles. It's one of those things. When I eat them, I lay down. I'm knocked out.
Yeah,
edibles make me be able to nap.
Joe
Other than that, I
Rogan has a
cannot nap.
comedy skit about edibles, and he's like,
I bet
said
he
took
does.
it. He's like, the skit is so funny because he sees the guy and he's talking about, he goes into the place to buy it, and he's like, he buys some gummy bears, and he's like, hey, how much did I take? And the guy behind the counter is like, just the leg. And he's like, just the leg? He's like, the leg of a gummy bear. And he says he ate it, and he's out in the ocean, and he says he's like talking with dolphins, right? It's hilarious. It's one of the best skits. Like, Joe Rogan is truly effing hilarious. I mean, he is hilarious. Like, that is one of the funniest comedians on the planet. I respect that dude's intellect. Now, before I want to move on.
Next question.
Well, for this question, what I want
like
to do
she
is
should
kind of
say
react.
that.
I want to do something a little bit different.
Shouldn't say anything.
I know, and that's why this next question's coming. That's why this next question's coming. What I want to do is ask now you two, and we can let you weigh in on.
Yeah, go. Bye.
Are you now going by my definition of woke, like, do you subscribe to anything non-mainstream? Like, what do you have any belief system that's non-mainstream right now? Do you that you subscribe to that you can talk freely about?
Not on your level. Probably not, no.
Doesn't have to be on my level. I want to get Colin's opinion and Brendan's opinion of.
Honestly, I'm just like observing what you guys are saying, and I kind of learn from these conversations, and I just kind of formulate an opinion in my own mind, but I don't really like have a lot to say on many topics that you guys discuss.
Do you agree that women are crazy from that last statement?
A lot of women are pretty crazy, and that's why I don't really hang around a lot of women.
Shit for saying that.
Well, I mean, I don't hang around a lot of women because they are pretty crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. But
right, but you tend to like take most of your time here, don't you? Like, you're mostly at this school, like interacting with like kids programs, and
yes.
you know, like, what made you want to do that? Why, what did you do before, and like what kind of brought you here and like kind of kept you here? Because a lot of people have different. Mine was dealing with the law and dealing with all my with whatever thing I have to deal with inside here. I'm curious as to see why other people have.
I can answer that for her. She's actually savage. That's the thing. This is like where savage people thrive. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, even as a kid, I was always into like martial arts, fighting. Me and my dad would watch, like, you know, sometimes we'd watch the UFC if we had cable, if it was like on or something. But we didn't ever really have the money for it to start classes because classes aren't cheap.
Right.
And, you know, I had to do school and stuff, so it was just I just didn't do it as much when I was younger. And then, I don't know, we moved back to Jacksonville, and he was just like, hey, there's this place, you know. And my dad always, like, we would always work out with my dad when I was little. We would always, and my mom, you know, she's really into fitness as well. And we would hit the bag and stuff with my dad. He'd just, you know, that much self-defense. But then he found a school here in Jax, and he's like, let's just go look at it, try it out. And after my first day, I was like, I want to do this. Like, I really enjoyed it. And after rolling, and I was like, I didn't care if they got me. I think it, like, if they tapped me out the first few months or whatever, you know, I still wanted to come back. I still wanted to learn it. And then teaching the kids program, I think it's.
Do you feel that's kind of like a rewarding thing, or do you feel like it's kind of like paying your dues?
I think it's more of a reward, if anything, because it's focusing on someone else, not just myself. It's helping others get better. And then when you see the kids doing moves that you taught them or you helped them with, it really makes you feel good. It pays off. And I think jiu-jitsu also helped me, like, be more confident with myself. Like, I'm not the most confident person, but I think it definitely helps me with everything that I do. It's more my lifestyle now, and I don't ever want to, like, change that. I don't ever want to leave it. And I think this school has been the most influential in my life. So, I mean, I'm just going to continue doing what I love because this is something that I love, you know. And
do you enjoy competing? Is that something that's like like you look forward to, or is it kind of like if it's around, you'll do it? If you know, it's not. Is it your main focus, or are you just kind of trying to just learn? And you know, competitions, like, well, I just did one recently, the 10th Planet 16 Women Division, and I wasn't thinking about doing it until Jason was like, hey, you should do this competition. It would be perfect for you. Blue belts, you know. It was no gi, but regardless, I was still going to, I was, like, looking into it. And then, you know, Coach was like, well, hey, I'll sponsor you if you go. And I'm like, I guess I'll do it. You know, I'll see where I'm at. I think competitions are good to just kind of see where you're at. How do you, like, speaking of Jason, how do you feel like whenever you train or, you know, you go to those early morning classes with him? Because for a while, I never knew who this guy was. Like, he would always like talk, like, we would always like go back and forth sometimes on Facebook talking about jiu-jitsu, and it really wasn't like till like recent months that we actually started training together with each other. And I found like some of his things he would do were very similar to what I would do, and it was interesting just to see it from a different type of body, like a body type person. But I'm also curious because I've never been to an actual class with him. Like, you know, the annual thing, probably so, but I didn't, you know, rep with him. I'm just curious to see like what kind of impact you might have like with someone who is a higher belt, who has good jiu-jitsu, no gi and gi. Like it's I'm kind of curious as how like it is learning, because you learn from Bobby, but you also probably you're learning from a different belt, a lower belt, that is, no disrespect to the changes in belt color, but it's a different kind of like flow, like, wouldn't you say? Like how does like, would you say that he is influential in a different style that you approach, or is it kind of tie into what he teaches you as well? To like being the same thing.
I think he was very influential, especially since in the school he was the one that I saw mostly doing all the leg locks and stuff, and that kind of inspired me to be like focus a little more on like leg locks and changing up my game a little bit. And he also right now he's doing a bunch of like triple threat from the back and these different grips, and he's definitely has a different style, but I appreciate like everything he teaches because it's always something new, and he's always for his work he's always like going overseas, going to travel, and he's training at different gyms, and I like how when he comes back he might bring something new,
brings a nugget or two every now and then.
Exactly.
And that is pretty fun. That is pretty cool, like, to be able to do. But I was just curious because
Jason's one of the few people I haven't.
He's a fun roll. I enjoy rolling with him a lot.
He's a good roll.
He's got some sneaky tricks like I do, and it's just kind of fun to see how he can set him up.
What makes him interesting, though? What makes him different?
I love the leg battles. It's so invigorating, like, to just to know that it's like not a shirt. Like, I have to tuck in I have to move cautiously and quick, and it's fun because it keeps it so fast paced, and one little time mistake and one of us is going to catch the other. I just thought it was just kind of interesting to have.
He's a huge asset in the school, and what makes him unique is that he can study something for a very short period of time comparatively to me, and expand on it really well. Like he's the one who brings I teach everyone everything I know, which is a fair amount of knowledge. It's a good amount of knowledge. But as you get older, our ability to learn new jiu-jitsu becomes very difficult because it always becomes contrary to a path that's very set now, right? It's like our jiu-jitsu is formed, and it's almost like clay. It starts hardening, right? And if you're younger, you're not going to understand this. But as you get older, just like Luis, I know he can relate to this. Is that my jiu-jitsu is what it is. It's powerful enough. It's strong enough. You have an alternate path, but it's just an alternate. It's not better. It's just different. But it is cool when the person you're going up against doesn't know that. But Jason he took everything that I had. He learned it. And then he started adding on top of it. And to the point where I'm like, dude, Jason, why don't you teach class? Because now I'm gonna learn something from you, and which is, that's how I see Jason. He's very, very intellectual. He's become very athletic. Super, super cool asset.
How about you? For being a white, you're still a white belt, correct?
Pretty new.
What is it like, just walking into the whole jiu-jitsu? Because obviously, even me almost become him being a black belt, me not too far away. Right. I've only scratched the surface. We've only scratched the surface. Like we're just maybe like a little scratch like that. Like, what does it feel like to you to like come into this, to wear the kimono, to have to have someone trying to freaking choke you? And there's a certain amount of people that are can kind of dig that thing. I love it.
Yeah. No,
as weird as it sounds, I get a thrill, almost a high, just from either escaping something, passing someone's guard, or sweeping them. Just let alone knowing
it's
that
like a superpower.
I got those points. And when you roll, like having a couple months in, I assume, right, when you roll with someone who's brand new and you feel how powerless they really are, when it's like when you have the grips and when you grip someone, like that's one thing I've learned. Whenever the first grip, like after the slap and dap, those first two grips, I know exactly what kind of skill set maybe this person can bring me, or like what kind of tempo they're at least going to bring. And I always just kind of like because like now it's just like it's not even fun for me to roll with someone who has no jiu-jitsu experience at all. It's just not fun.
Because then you have to show them everything.
No, it's not that I have to show them anything. It's just that
they just don't know what they're doing.
They don't present a challenge, and it's kind of like why am I wasting? I'm not a teacher. building this person up is a teacher's job, not mine.
Yeah.
How is it that you kind of like see that as like, have you rolled with someone brand new yet? Like, so you've experienced the control that you can have.
Right, and I
It's
have my good days and I have my bad days.
Oh, we always will. There's always someone that's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's new. It's overwhelming. It's frustrating because I want to be at
You want to
goals.
acquire
I want to
more.
know. Like I don't want to make those stupid mistakes and trap my hand and get wrist locked because you know what I mean.
Is it frustrating to hear whenever someone says, "How can I get better? Just keep coming"? Is it frustrating when we tell you
No,
that?
because it's true. It's true.
Is it because some people say that was like, man, like that's, you can kind of
keep your secret
You're
then.
kind of being a dick about it. I'm just like, no, it's what I fucking did.
No, and I'm I'm older.
Consistent-
I've started
consistency.
late. I've started late.
Right.
And you might not know this, but I envy the shit out of you. I think you're very smart for starting at such a young age, right? And that's why I have my daughters, and I'm trying to get both my daughters to start, right? I've got a shitty life story, right? And because I wasn't take the pass as a younger kid, but I'm here now. I love it. I see it as something that I'll never quit.
Right.
Okay, I might have started late, but I'm here, right?
Right.
better
It's
than
all that
sitting on the
matters
couch.
is you still showed up.
It's fun for me, and you know, like I learn from the higher belts. I see both ways. There's some people that say roll with a higher belt so you'll get better at your jiu-jitsu, but I feel like I'm getting better at defending when I'm rolling with the higher belts. And the small things that I can remember, the certain things I can remember, right, from the classes, and I try to go to every class Bobby teaches. I try my best, and even Jason's classes in the mornings, and I learn from both of them because he's higher belt than me and he knows so much more than me. But when I do roll with like a guy that just came in, you know, through the door, and me only being here a few months, I do feel the advantage that I have over them, and it's a fun roll and then even rolling with some of the girls that are a little less stronger than me, you know, I tone down the jiu-jitsu that I know I have, right? I don't go 100% on them, and I'm learning to just, you know, I defend. I'm trying to get to a position where I'm more dominant.
Do you feel like, you know, the way, like, even with him being in the room, do you feel like the way he teaches, like, is you know, a way that can help you accelerate your knowledge? Because if you don't know, most of the people, like, that I hang out, that I've trained with now, that are at the same belt level as me, we all started under Bobby. All of us, me, Scott, Chris, Alex, you know, a couple more I can mention, but
Absolutely.
I can definitely say that group, the group of people our generation under him, when we first started, definitely had an impact on all of us, and we still carry like tokens of knowledge that we've gained from him, like the honey hole thing. Like I still use that to this day. The lasso bicep slice, I still use that to this day.
No,
I use mainly I would say 80 to, I would say like, yeah, probably 75 to 80% of my jiu-jitsu is all the shit that I learned from him, that I use from the get-go and I still use now. Luis and Pedro have taught me different things from different angles and different aspects of how to use my jiu-jitsu. You know, if you know, you can argue, you know, your spear, they sharpened, you know, my knowledge a little bit just because of the source of how close they were. And of course, Pedro's like being in the modern day jiu-jitsu, he's telling me things and showing me shit that I'm just like, I had no idea that was there. Like I've never seen that in, you know, almost the 9 years I've been training.
And that's cool. And it's cool that you're able. Like I rolled with Pedro came in one night, and I was probably like the rest roll for him, of course, right? But it was interesting to me to feel pressure coming from areries that I didn't know. Like
it's the invisible jiu-jitsu, man. Like like he has said, and like has Hickson told him, you can weigh like. It's a rude question. How much do you weigh, man?
160, I would say.
Okay. Someone who weighs like 160 can feel twice that amount on someone who's 3 times the size just by using the weight in the appropriate manner and having good base. That shit is astounding. The fact that, you know, someone like you know, like my size can go up against, you know, not Stuart. I can't stay in mount for very long. I probably haven't stayed there for but like maybe a minute sometimes. You know, that's a different subject, but the whole point being is like just having that's one thing I love to do when I go against someone who's way bigger than me. I like to get mount and I like to stay there. I don't care if you think of it as stalling. I like to see, I'm here, I'm in the dominant position. I want to see how you get me off. I want to see how you sweep me. Not because I just want to hold you here and just bullshit. I want to know. Like, it's interesting. Are you just going to bench me off you? If you bench me off you, fine. I won't make the same mistake. I'll get higher up, and then I'll start going to attacks for the neck or the arms or whatever. It's just kind of a curiosity thing. Like, I'm like, what would happen?
Right.
Like, what would happen? Like, that's like the best way I would think to learn, because all, the whole group that were under him, we all have different style. All of us are all different styles. Like Scotty's a loop choke, freaking, he'll choke the fuck out of you with a collared shirt. I like to attack legs. Chris Schmidt was kind of like just an all-around, just brutal at leg locks, and had a very good pass game. He was incredibly strong. Ray was back and Darces were just like, you couldn't get him off you. It sucked. It really sucked. That was another name. I don't even know why I didn't even mention him. But he, like I said from the get-go, he's been like the starter for me, like that got me into it. But yeah, all of us, like, and Julian too, like that whole group that I said before, and those two and a couple others, really I just can't remember at the time. We all have kind of accelerated, and we all do pretty damn well. Like, we all still train little bits. Like, some of us train more than others. Some don't train at all right now.
But they'll come back to it.
Maybe.
Eventually. Hopefully.
Right.
But it's, I'm just kind of curious because, how...
I feel very fortunate. Going back to your question, I feel very fortunate to live where I do. I always was curious passing by the gym, because I passed by it, just going to the store or whatever, So I always was very curious. And finally I got enough courage to walk through the door.
And walk in.
And then I just, I got to keep coming back. And I look forward to the next day. I look forward to the next role. I look forward to learning from the higher belts in here.
And see, like, one thing I can definitely say I got an impact from him is he is the main reason why my guard is as good as it is, because I saw him play it, and I was like, I'm gonna play that same type of game, because like I said earlier, I'm the smallest motherfucker in the class. I gotta figure some shit out, because there ain't no way in hell I'm about to double leg and then double underpass some dude that's 3 times my size who's just gonna like flip me over. At the time, I did not have the technique nor the base.
I'm just going to pat myself on the back right here. Yeah. And when I was rolling with when I brought Marcelo Garcia to my school, Todd was there, and Todd Williams. And,
I remember
Thomas.
you telling me this story. Yeah.
And I got to roll with Marcelo as a blue belt, and he told me, and I quote, as a blue belt, he told me I had a black belt level guard, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I was like, that was like the best thing I ever heard as a blue belt. He actually stopped trying to pass my guard. Not saying he couldn't. I'm saying that he didn't want to waste the energy. It was just he's coming at my guard, and he's like trying to get around, and like maybe it lasted a minute or and I don't know, but he sat back and he goes, you have a black belt level guard. Let's see your forward game, right? And so then I start playing forward, and then he submitted.
And see, that was my problem though. Like, that was one of the, like, when I said run one trick ponies, I was just a guard guy, and literally like this, the big secret was, you want to beat me, just pass my guard, and then I suck. And one thing I can go back and attribute to giving to Stewart was he was so fucking good at passing my guard that if I couldn't immediately spin under him and leg lock him or get into that honey hole sequence, I figured out a way. I was like, he can't choke me with one hand. I was like, if he chokes me with one hand, I fucked up big time. And that it is what it is. So what I would do is, as soon as he would pass, my inside arm would go straight in. Now, I'm endangering myself of getting bread cuttered, obviously, but I keep to my side. I don't stay flat. So at least I can turn into and go into a turtle to protect myself from that. But I would go in and I would grab the sleeve, his sleeve on the outside, and I would just either put my shin there or I'd put my foot into his elbow pit, and then I would be like, he can't choke me here. I only have to watch out for him lifting up my leg and taking mount, and then I'm kind of just in a shitty predicament. I'm still under him. I could still move him a little bit if he hasn't got his base yet on my hips. That was like the biggest nugget of information I could ever say Stewart gave me, is just the fact that I had to figure it out. I did not want to be run through someone again. I didn't want to go through that whole process again of like getting beat up by a bigger person and having to figure out something. I was like, no, I'm gonna figure it out now. And if it wasn't for Stewart, I probably would be still at that point somewhat. I can definitely say that once I figured that out, I was able to become, as he has said super annoying. And it's just for the fact that it is like you can do all that hard work pass, and then I get you that, throw it in, and then I just get my guard right back. And I do it all the time. I try to do it all the time. I don't do it all the time because people stop me. People pass all the time when I fuck up, or they're just quicker than me. But it's just, that's one thing that's just like, you know, I've learned that I've adapted like through like my shortcomings. You know, I'm a short person. I'm not that as structurally big or tall as some people are. I have to get folded up into a little pretzel sometimes just to survive, to spin under and do what I want to do. That's one thing I do like about, like, you know, how he had taught me in my game. I already had that. I already had it. I just needed to expand my options. And once I did, and I, you know, learned different grips and, like, you know, De La Hiva and all the other stuff that Pedro kind of broke down with me, and kind of saw how my flexibility worked in that way. It kind of brought in that, and that's why I was, you know, curious as the fact is his teaching brought me to that point. And then once I saw like a different opinion from like a different person, not even a teacher, it completely opened up everything to a point to which I see now. And even when I come back and roll with him, I still just go with the basic guards that I try and do with him and how he taught me. Sometimes I'll throw some like sneaky shit in there if I just want to be an asshole, but you know, it's just the fact that I can go back and be like, damn, man, it's still not the same. I still won't go into his guard. Fuck that. I won't do it. I'll go and attack his feet or his toes or his ankles, because I know that if I step into that man's closed guard, I should accept the challenge. I should go into it. I should try to pass. Maybe once or twice I have. Most of the time I just get triangled, and it sucks because it's literally like, it's not quicksand, because quicksand is not giving it justice. It's super tight. That's why I feel like my triangles are super tight as well, because I got short legs. If I can get my legs around someone with very broad shoulders, I got it. Boy, if you can still breathe, I'm gonna be pissed off. Like, but I feel like that kind of like helped me, like just the way his guard was, because Bobby was always known like, if he gets you in his guard, you're fucked. Right. You're fucked. And 9 times out of 10, every time I saw him compete, that was the reaction. I think Pedro was the only person I saw that got out of it, got around, and then, you know, won the match. And that was like probably one of the best matches I ever saw as a white belt. And it was at Luiz's tournaments, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking cool. And it was, you know, it's just one of those things where it's
yeah,
like,
that was pretty.
You have to respect the skill level or the teachings that someone can bring.
Are you familiar with like the aha factor? Like, there's a certain point when like you're learning. Right, where it's just like, oh shit.
Oh, and you see something, you're like, oh shit.
Okay. When do you think that was for you in jiu-jitsu? Was that blue belt? Was that second stripe?
Blue belt.
Yeah.
It was blue belt, because that's when I just got. When he showed me the omoplata sweep, or in the pendulum, and that kind of just changed everything. It came to the point where like I could go into an open guard, grab here and here, and just roll, and I could attack from either which way I ended up. If you stood up, I could spin under, try and take your back, or knee bar you. It just kind of created like.
Did you ever get proficient with the toss salad? Remember, did you ever add that to your game? Did it ever become? Scott used to use it. Scott was really. Remember from the omoplata sweep, the reverse rollover?
Oh, man, I've tried it a couple times, but like a lot of times with omoplatas, I don't try to finish them. Yeah. I just use it as a way to either get to mount or try and take the back. I am not an omoplata guy. I will use the sweep till I die, and I'll use it as a bait to throw a triangle when they post their arm out. But other than that, I don't. It's just not my forte. Yeah. Like, I just have a hard time getting to that, and I just generally don't want to waste the opportunity or the position. So I'll come up and just try and stay on top, have a dominant position, take the points for the sweep. Stuff like that, and especially if I know someone's got a bad shoulder, I don't want to be that guy. So I'd rather just not go for it and work for another dominant position. A lot of times people are so desperate to get out of that, they'll either roll real fast. Once they roll, you just come up, knee on belly, go straight to mount. It's just a matter of breaking down like where they can go. If you know where they can go, then you can plan accordingly. Now, if someone does some off-the-ball shit, that's that ha-ha factor that he just mentioned. It's like, aha, yeah, I got ha-ha, no you don't, bitch. And it's like, that I love that shit. I love when you're like, it looks like you're done, it's sunk in, you get out and you get on top and you're like, haha, motherfucker. I saw that at Worlds when I dislocated my elbow. By the way, don't try and throw someone 3 times your size with too big of gi pants. You will break your elbow. But so these guys were going at it, and this guy had him in an armbar for 3. I swear to God, 3 minutes, dude. His arm was straight. It looked like his arm was about to break. Dude got out, passed the dude's guard, and armbarred him and won. I was like, that is some fucking bullshit. I was like, but that's just how that shit is, dude. And that's the fucking aha factor. It's like, yeah, bitch, you had me. But you didn't. You were like a smidgen off to finish me, and then I finished you.
No, you think that was technique or?
Yeah, of course it was. Like, there was a bleep in the one guy's technique. If you're trying for 3 minutes, first of all, if you're trying for 3 minutes for a submission, you need to go to a different position. He wasted too much time there, and I think that was the only downfall of it. From if you can't finish it within 3 seconds, I honestly think that you need to move.
And that's what I like about Bobby's teachings and Jason too, is that, you know, the details, you know, they go over the details. Look, it's not going to work from this angle, right? Your grip's going to be stronger if you know what I mean. Those small little details that matter is what I like to learn.
Real quickly, we didn't give you a chance.
Okay.
Woke subjects that you know, esoteric knowledge that you subscribe to that most mainstream doesn't. Are there any things today that you are now no longer mainstream on?
Oh, definitely not mainstream on the moon, on landing on the moon. I was definitely probably like 95%. Like, oh yeah, we win. You know, our government.
Having said this, completely off the topic, a little bit of an ignorant statement, but we had to do that to defeat communism. Communism, the lie. Democracy is truth. Liberty, prime. Thank you.
Now, so here's the thing: intelligent guy. When you looked at it open-mindedly and skeptically, and just saw what they, you know, presented to you as evidence, and then you could use your own brain, you came to the conclusion that we didn't go to the moon, right?
Absolutely.
Which with my research, I came to the same conclusion. I came to the conclusion that we did not go to the moon.
The proof that we didn't is just so much more compelling.
But would you believe
and understanding of why we needed to fake it? So I get it. Just admit it.
So you understand? Right? So really, do you feel like it was faked to defeat communism, or was it kind of like just to say that we were like, you know, we were able to do
we're
it?
Better. We're American. But we took German scientists to do it.
Oh, exactly. Project Paperclip. Yeah, we did some evil shit. But that's how that's the only way shit could have been done. We let loose the one Japanese guy that experimented on Chinese citizens like openly when they're alive, disemboweled them and all that. So we let him go for his knowledge. It's knowledge. People say money is power. Money is power, but knowledge is so much more. Because people will give up the money to get the knowledge. That's why it's always going to be on a higher plane than money can ever really get to. Yes, you need that to get to that. Mm-hmm. But
that's the same reason we're slaves to these. I mean, if you subscribe to the theory of the flat Earth and that there's these 200, you know, fallen angels that are running the Earth, that's why are we slaves to them? Because they have the knowledge. That's why they know they have the knowledge from the beginning of time. As far as we're concerned,
how different do you think it would be if we did have it? What do you think would be the difference? Because obviously, if space doesn't exist, we wouldn't be colonizing space. How technologically advanced do you think we would be? Do you think we would adapt into becoming energy?
You're talking about colonizing space with SpaceX. Elon Musk is today fraud. He's putting up fraudulent.
No. I'm just saying because that's not true.
Okay. All right.
Where would our what is the frontier then? Like what can we expand on to? Like would we just work to the aspect of becoming pure energy so that way like we would kind of live immortally, or what would be the technological purpose? Because if space was real and planets were real, as you say, they're probably not. I'm just saying is if we can't colonize planets and go and do some Halo shit, what is there to do? Do we build up or do we go down? If we go down,
we don't build.
Are we going to find some shit we're not supposed to see?
The really deep shit is what is God living in? You know, no one talks about that. And what's beyond that? You know, like maybe there is space. Maybe
but if he did all that and he sees these people controlling it, why is he letting it happen? Is it just to test, like you said, to test?
We're here as a test.
That's some bullshit. I want to be one of the testers, damn it. Give me the power.
But also, at the same time, Bruce Lee answered a very real question when he said, don't give me a an easy life, give me a strength to endure a difficult one, or something like that. He would rather have the strength to endure a difficult life than to be given an easy life. So my point is this, is let's say we are a spirit, and spirit is like clay. How do you make a perfect spirit? How do you make a really good spirit? Do you use empathy or do you use sympathy? Can you understand, like, if you've never had your throat cut, can you truly feel sorry for that person having their throat cut? Like, I've seen videos of guys, I've seen videos, not live, in the Philippines where these Muslims captured these Christians and just laughed while they were cutting their throats, just sawing through it. And I just happened upon this, and I will not look at anything like this ever again. But the one time I came across it, I had to see it, and they laughed while they were doing it. These were kids doing it to kids, and these kids had no sense of empathy and no sense of sympathy.
It's all about how you're raised, though. I mean, that's taking the bad message of what their religion is and just completely twisting it to have control, like I said. If it was used as the way if it was supposed to be used, people wouldn't act like that. But since they use it as a means of control and try to make you depict on what you want to do, it's just some big brother shit. It's just like people twisting the words of something that was good into something completely fucked. It's like, you know, I'm pretty sure in all the religious books, the Quran, the Bible, like, you know, whatever, the Torah, I'm pretty sure it said, hey, man, you shouldn't kill people. So then where the fuck did this aspect come in? So it's like, oh, he doesn't believe what I want to be and I need to kill him.
So my point is, if you went through life 100 times, and in some of those lives you were killed in a horrendous way, you would have a profound of understanding of why you shouldn't kill someone. Opposed to where if you're like, why do all king's sons turn out the way they do? I mean, if you're the son of Saddam and you've never understood poverty and you've never understood pain and you've never had to suffer, it's no problem with you. I'll just cut their head off. Oh, they said, what about my dad? Cut his head off. Let's feed him to a wood chipper feet first. You can't, nothing is a better teacher than having it done to you. Like, that is profound. So if you're I'd have to admit, if you're God and you want to create a perfect spirit, you wouldn't not let them experience these things. You'd let them experience these things. I mean,
if you let them experience that, you need to let them hold on to the memories of it. Because if you can't, just doing it back and forth and you start over and it's just like, I'm a complete new person. I have no knowledge of that, of dying that way. I have no knowledge of saying, oh, I jumped in that river, it was too wet and I drowned. Now I'm back at that river. Oh, I'm gonna jump back in.
So the way this would work, in my opinion, in my understanding, is that when the consummation happens, all of your memories come flooding back. So you get the memories of all your previous lives with perfect. You have the best recollection you can imagine. You see everything, and we have people alive today who have they have access to this. You know, it's like this person I've seen where a kid took his parents to where he told them, I lived on this street in this city. I know it. It's like he said it was a blue house and the neighbors, and then he went there and it's all there. It's all there. There is every once in a while there's a glitch in the matrix, and you can see this, right? So the thing of it is we have our mind and our memories, which we will get back, but then you have a spirit, and the spirit, it does have a reflection of these memories, if you ask me, so that every time this injustice is done to you, your spirit is molded a little bit by that, right? So that's kind of the belief I'm adhering to now. Again, today I'm more religious than I've ever been. Like I was never a religious person until today. You know, like a month ago I wasn't this religious. But circling back, because everything I'm saying is redundant.
A few months ago I wasn't woke.
Yeah. So you're kind of down with we haven't been to space.
Yeah. And
what else?
I'm interested in Joe Rogan. You know, his podcast. I listen to it. I enjoy it. He talks about sensory deprivation tank. You know, and using things. You know, kind of altered mind state. I watch videos. You know, to try to learn about different science. And the senses. I think it's interesting if we could find ways to tap into our different senses, because right now what we can hear, smell, see, taste. What other senses can we
Are you familiar with something called ASMR or AMS? I think it's called ASMR.
No.
My brother's trying to turn me on to this right now, and I just haven't had time.
Well, those sound videos.
Yeah, and he says, dude, you've got to do this. It's absolutely insane. Like, he
I
sent me
listen
these
to
2 channels.
frequencies at night.
Well, he says, yeah, I've been listening to 432, and I've been listening to Schumann Resonance, and all the there's some cool stuff out there. But hit me up about ASMR later. I'm going to send you some
do
cool
that.
stuff.
I'll do
My
that.
brother's trying to turn me on. He is turning me on to right now. So frequencies in the moon.
Frequencies, the moon. I entertain the Anunnaki. I like watching the Ancient Aliens show, but I also like debunking. I just don't take things for
what
truth.
they are. What you
Right.
see
You know,
it as.
it's like I like to make up my own mind. I believe in karma. I believe in treating people with the same amount of respect that I kind of.
Do you entertain the possibility that the Earth could be flat?
I've looked at it. I find it hard to believe. But if the truth comes out that it is, then so be it. I don't think it really affects my life, so I don't try not to get too wrapped up around it.
So that's how I feel
know.
about it. Like, I'm just if it really was true, it's not like, oh man.
Like,
If it
fuck
were
my
true,
my life sucks.
Of course
we
there
would be in a
of
dome.
course
We
there-
would be under a dome.
Right,
who
and then I'm
could-
really fucked.
Of
And
course there'd be questions.
I'm still-
but
I'm
at
still
the
gonna
same
come-
time, I'm still gonna be like, all right, I'm still just gonna try and wake up, go to work, and do my shit.
Right. I still got a bill to pay, and I
Because
still
if
want
I
to learn
say
jiu-jitsu.
anything and it's true, they're just gonna kill my ass. So I might as well just.
Yeah. I watched a documentary about Stanley Kubrick, and I thought that was so fucking cool, and how he died like right after making Eyes Wide Shut, and I was like, okay, so let me watch this movie again, and the Secret Cabal.
The 24
That's
missing
what
minutes.
that's what freaks me out, right? Is these people with so much power, and they have these little secret, if it's true, right? They have these secret meetings and these orgy parties, right, within each other. But
Yeah, where are those at?
No, that's nothing. What you
Right.
have to speculate on is the 24 missing minutes of what goes on.
and right, there's 24 minutes that were taken out, and he was adamant about keeping in the movie, and then he died or was murdered, and they took those out after the film was released, or before it was released. So that's interesting, and Coach hit on the Shining, having little Easter eggs in the movie, talking about Apollo 11 and how he admitted. I watched the video. Stanley Kubrick admitted to filming the moon landing. So
Got about 45 more minutes.
Yeah, we can end any time.
that's fine.
We put
No.
down 2 hours and 46 minutes. I try to get it around 3 hours. That's what Joe does. So
Yeah, no, it's for. I was just the football. Jacksonville Jaguars, #1 team. Number one.
Ball.
Fuck the Patriots.
Nice.
something people don't know about Colin that I know.
Brady. Fuck you, Tom Brady. What? I was like,
One of your biggest passions, for people out there that don't know, Colin is heavy into soccer. Mad
it's
heavy.
the world. It's the world's sport, man. It's more people on this earth watch and play soccer than they do American football. Now I
That's why I was
love
a little-
I love American football. Don't get me wrong. I was born.
Normally you got on a Chelsea, right?
Yeah. Chelsea FC, West London football team. They're one of the best teams in Europe. In my opinion, they're probably like top 5 in my opinion, just on like how they're
Best soccer player alive today.
Best soccer player alive is fucking Messi. Messi is obviously, because I feel like anywhere he would go, he would just be.
Who's the guy that
he'd be
married
the man?
The girl from Spice Girls? What's his name?
That's David Beckham.
Who's better, Beckham or Messi?
Messi, by far. Messi's not from this earth. Like,
What
you
about
don't-
Pele? Pele comes to life today.
Man,
or
see,
whatever.
Pele would not be the same person playing modern soccer. Modern soccer is completely different than back then. Now, if it was vice versa, Messi was back then, I feel like it would kind of be equal. But I feel like two people of such great, great stature in the sport can't exist at the same time. You can have
Does your knowledge of soccer rival your knowledge of jiu-jitsu? I mean,
No.
Are you that much into it?
no. I'm
'Cause I thought you were like hardcore soccer.
I follow all the transfers. I follow multiple leagues, but my interest is mostly in jiu-jitsu. Like I would have to say that. But when it comes to it, like I will literally like not go to open mat to watch Chelsea play.
If you
Like,
could
I-
roll with anybody out there,
Roll with anyone, dead or alive,
dead or alive,
Holes Gracie. Because he was Hickson's teacher and Luiz's teacher. I would love to like be able to go back and roll with him, just get my ass beat by one of the, the most deadly Gracies in the fucking world to ever exist. Other than that, man, like I would probably just do the cliche thing and say my dad, just to have him back and to experience that with him, even though me and him were heavily into sports together. Like, but that's a separate issue. But a lot of times, like, it's just kind of like, if I would say probably Holes or Hickson. But if I was gonna go dead, I'd go Holes. Alive, Hickson. Like, I'm not gonna leave that family just because, like, they're in the ground zero when it comes to like how it was formed, or not really formed, but made mainstream, or apply to make it to where it could apply to everyone, to everywhere everyone could learn from it. They helped that process tremendously, and they obviously their names are going to be permanently ingrained in our sport, in our lifestyle, and just in the way we generally take it, or because there's hobbyists.
I can't remember. Does Luis have Carlos up on his wall, or does he just have Elio up?
He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any of them. He has pictures of when he hung out with him and trained with him on the wall, but there's no
portrait. Place to bow to.
No, not at all. It's kind of.
I couldn't remember.
It's Luis always, I believe, wanted to be kind of independent, and I just I know for sure that probably earlier in the days it was so when he was directly under them. I think maybe now it's just kind of a thing where it's like not a big deal.
He's part of the CBJJ, as well as I don't want to say like only, but I think he's more concerned with his, because when you're in multiple organizations, you get belted from multiple organizations. You get a certificate from the IBJJF, you get a certificate from the Confederate Cow, the CBJJ. I think there's an F at the end. I'm not sure, but if you're part of the JJGF, you would get your certificate from them, and your teacher himself can give. So when you're part of multiple organizations, you can essentially get multiple certificates, right? Like this organization will say, "Yep, he's a second degree. He did put in the time." This organization may come in, so I know he's part of the CBJJ as well. So, and I think that's Henzo's father. I think, don't quote me on that, but that's the one I noticed that Luis kind of himself puts the most today. I see him when he goes there and gets his belts there, and he posts that.
Can I ask, what do you think? Where do you both see jiu-jitsu in the next 10 years?
Honestly, dude, I would love for jiu-jitsu to kind of be like football is in the South, man. Like, for high schools to adapt it as like a must-have, like, kind of team thing. To where, like, you have, like, 4 or 5 people from your high school, your college that go and they fight in tournaments, like, points are accumulated. Wouldn't that be great if it was in high school? If it was ingrained like that in the American lifestyle, and we took not only American wrestling and then added jiu-jitsu to it in the school curriculum, it would be fucking bananas. It would be the shit, because everyone would know somewhat how to defend themselves. They would have that aspect. If I wanted to, have that lifestyle and be healthy. No fucking
guns in school.
But
this bullshit.
And there probably would be less bullying if everyone knew how to defend themselves,
and
it was
made
true.
Yeah.
It probably would. Now, this isn't a perfect world.
No, and kids are gonna get hurt, and their parents are gonna fucking cry.
Right, exactly, because that's what people do now. But I feel like that would kind of get that, like, I'm going to say like this, the bitch out of the culture that is there. And I say that only because, like, kids are fucking soft, man. They're so soft now. It's like they fall down, they start to cry. Of course, every kid
I remember as a kid,
cries.
I didn't have to come home until the lights were out. I didn't have a cell phone on me. I could ride my bike all over fucking town. Exactly. Go hang out with my buddies.
They don't know how good they really have it, but, like, saying if you could implement it into the culture, American culture, jiu-jitsu, it would do wonders. It really would, because it's more like, not everyone can be a wrestler. There's the stupid taboo that girls aren't as good at wrestlers as guys. Regardless, we all know that kind of exists. But jiu-jitsu cuts that playing field in half, because I've been beaten the first time ever by a 14-year-old kid when I was started. I got my ass whooped by a 14-year-old girl. And I was just like, oh shit. Okay, all right. Well, anyone can do that. That was another, like, aha moment for me, was like when I got beat by her. I was kind of just like, okay. Like,
I know today Nikki's my gatekeeper. So when I get guys come in that kind of like they doubt on jiu-jitsu, you know, I'm like, why don't you roll with that girl over there? You know,
Yeah,
and they're like,
you always
they're,
throw
they're always
She
like,
knows,
I don't want to hurt her, and I'm always like, just take it easy on her, bro. You know, and they go out there not knowing we've had this conversation, right? They go over there and Nikki just wrecks them. I love it. So she's the if it's some dude that's like 250, I'm going to put him with someone else, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Or I'll roll with me, whatever. But they have to work their way
It's
up.
a gender equal type of thing that like a lot of, like in high school, what sport do you know consistently has equal co-ed genders?
Swim.
In the same sport
Participating in.
together.
Swimming, right.
That's about it.
Diving, maybe. Anything else?
Um,
Maybe tennis?
Yeah,
I don't
probably
think so.
tennis because it was such a small group. Golf.
That's it. There's no but even then the women usually play against other women. They don't go against males. Like they don't train with males. Like I've seen tournaments where freaking little kids, like a girl and a boy, go at it and they're like, oh my god, I hope my daughter doesn't get hurt. And the daughter wrecks the kid. The kid's crying like a little bitch. And that's the part that's fucking awesome about jiu-jitsu is a female can do that. There's no if they gender is better
like,
than the other. They just have to come and see it for what it is. When they do, they're just like, oh, dude, yeah, fuck, I'll roll with that big guy. I'm not scared of him. Even for me being like a small male, like if I see a giant fucking dude, I'm not like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. I'm like, okay, here we go. When I roll against a female, I'm just like, all right, this is going to be, let's see how technical he is. Because they're so fucking technical. They're, you know, even when I've rolled with you or when I've rolled with Gator, Maddie, or Melissa, or any female, they're so damn strong. It's like, like having that ignorance in my head in the beginning. I was like, man, there's no way. Like when I rolled with Jalen, when she whooped my ass, I was like, there's no way this little girl's about to whoop my ass, and she beat the shit out of me. I was like, oh, you know, it's kind of like you get taught real quick. Jiu-jitsu will humble you real fast.
I'm not gonna even allude to who the black belt was, but a black belt did show up at our school, and Jalen at 14 wrecked him. It's a true story, and there's people who know who remember
you can't
who this
take it
was,
easy. You can't take someone like you, like an old man. You roll against like a 65-year-old man, and that dude's strong as balls. He's strong as an ox. Like he's literally like he flips you up and you're like, oh, whoa, how are you moving like this?
On
and
that,
you can't take someone's physical appearance and judge it for jiu-jitsu because you've already lost.
I said something, and I know a lot of people, and after I said it, I'm not going to edit this out, but I know a lot of people are out there going, bullshit. And it's not about the person. What I kind of want to do bring up, though, is that there is a huge disparity in black belts today. There are systems out there that create black belts that cannot hang with modern blue belts. Right? They are out there. And they claim to be jiu-jitsu.
But those are the people that are just in it for like an egotistical reason. If you haven't put in the work and actually trained, everyone knows. They'll roll with you when they know. It's like when you saw the video of Andre Garval humiliating that guy at like Worlds, I think. Yeah. That guy obviously was not a black belt. Was probably barely a blue belt. Yeah, like I said, jiu-jitsu, the mats don't the mats don't lie. They don't lie. You can talk as much shit as you want, put as many YouTube videos up as you want, fake fight records as much as you want. If you have not won shit, if you cannot fight or compete with anyone in training, if you can't roll hard, what do you have? You have a cloth. Like, you haven't put in work. You haven't, paid the dues. You haven't, stayed up late nights freaking wondering, like thinking about, like, fuck, man, how would I have done that differently? I can't believe I lost that match off 2 points. Like, that was bullshit. Like, it's something that's, like, routinely. If you don't do that, and you're faking your belt, what's the point? Are you doing it for attention? Because someone's gonna see through your bullshit eventually. You can't be a shadow, and if you're being a shadow, then what's the point, anyways? Why are you faking something, and you're not, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a black belt. It's like, oh yeah, man, you want to train? Well, man, I don't really train anymore. It's like, then you're retired. Like, you're not you're a retired black belt. You might as well say it like that. But even if you do, I still want to know where you got got it from.
Yeah.
I still want to know, like, have you competed? And it's not, being nosy. It's like when it comes to jiu-jitsu, you have to have these things loaded up and ready to fire at people because the proof is in the pudding. If you ain't got no pudding, then you have no proof.
Yeah, Luis has no slouches out there. You can take any. I don't care if you can take any of his black belts, and I do mean that.
But they all compete. They
yeah.
all multiply through the times have competed and have fought. And most of them still
They're
fight
all a
to this day.
representation of each other. All of us.
Exactly.
We all are. And
that's how you can tell they're real, because I know there are some people in Jacksonville, in the whole world, whether it be in Jacksonville, in Florida, on the East Coast, they're fake as fuck. They have a great, they might be a good teacher. They might have, the charisma to bring people in.
Yeah, but you didn't
and all
put in
that.
your time.
But you didn't put in your
time.
You didn't compete.
Yeah.
You might have that, injury where you can't train anymore like that. And that, I understand. I'm not trying to, put you down and say, yeah, you're fake because your back's broken. Mm-hmm. Nah, when your back was healthy, did you win tournaments? Can I pull up that knowledge? Or is it just some fake Wikipedia shit? And those kind of people are the ones who's like, what's the point? Why are you faking? If you're trying to make a lifestyle out of it, you should be actually in the lifestyle. If you just want to make money off of it, open up the school and hire someone to teach you that has the credentials to do it. If you make, people that make something out of nothing, like, they weren't nothing and had no training, started a school, MMA fighters, gi guy, no gi guy, whatever they want to, say that they're into, but they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, and they're like looking at YouTube before a class just to like bullshit their way through it. You're cheating yourself. You're robbing people, because you're giving them fake knowledge. You're giving them fake, hope and fake knowledge, and it's kind of fucked up because you get brainwashed. Jiu-Jitsu will brainwash you. You will be like ready to die. Like for Luis and Pedro, that's my quote unquote dad now. Pedro is my brother. I will fight and die for them, and I have that aspect in my mind, like 24/7. Call me, I'm there, regardless. And it is what it is. Like, I'm loyal to my people. I'm loyal to anyone in this association. I will do the same for you as well, for anyone here. But the point being is, like, I know that you're a real practitioner. Luis is a real practitioner. Pedro is. All your students are. They're not just posting pictures of like a belt with someone, saying, "Oh, I got my belt," and faking it. Mm-hmm. If you want to do that, then go to Karate America. Go to Karate America and open up a school there, or open up a franchise there, because you're fake as fuck. I don't care if you go to Karate America and you want to hate on this. If you really want to hate on me for saying Karate America's fake as fuck, you can suck a dick. Come do jiu-jitsu. Stop that fucking bullshit. It's a scam.
So you don't believe in the 10-year-old 6-month black belt? You're not down with that?
No, that's complete shit. It's like you can't give someone a black belt that's age of 6 and can barely lift his damn leg up without falling over. You can't do that, because that gives that kid false hope. If he wants to learn Taekwondo, fine, but don't give him a fucking black belt. Make him train for 6 to 7 years. Make him have broken his shin, twisted his leg. Those injuries will fucking bring you better to the sport.
Yeah, because
they are all things that happen.
A black belt was supposed to signify, at least when you were growing up and you thought of a black belt,
I thought of honor.
Kick your ass.
Like that person is the real shit.
Right.
And then you find out that this person's like, yeah, man, that dude's not really. You're like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, are you fucking serious? Like,
they're sitting there doing that for 6 months, right? And they broke in these little thin boards. It's like, they ain't going to help you in a fight.
You want to know what I find funny, though? I know this is kind of like this isn't on really a karate topic, but it's on jiu-jitsu. I was at this, community service thing that I had to do for National Honor Society. And I was just, helping the other girls in there. We were sorting out clothes, I guess, for I forget what event it was. I'm not going to name any names because I didn't really know this girl anyway. But, she saw my shirt. She's like, "Oh, you do jiu-jitsu?" I'm like, yeah. She's like, "Oh, yeah, I did that, and I did Taekwondo." I'm like, "That's cool." And she's like, "Yeah, I was a black belt in jiu-jitsu." I was like, "What?" She was my age. And she's like, "Yeah, I started when I was like 5 or something, and she said she was a black belt. I'm like, are you sure you're a black belt? Are you sure that's not Taekwondo? She's like, no, in Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, okay, what Jiu-Jitsu did you do? She's like, oh yeah, I did the Brazilian. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think she's on the same level.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But,
And she was telling a lot of people at the school, like,
but it is
I'm
getting
a black
water.
belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like,
But did she roll?
What? I don't
Who
see
gave
it.
it
That's
to
why
you?
I don't
See,
know. I'm like,
when you come in, you say that, and someone says, "Oh, well, there's a
Yeah.
kimono right there. Why don't you put it on?" If your first reaction is, "All right, yeah, let's do this,"
Yeah.
you know, let's spar. That's a red flag immediately. If you don't immediately want to be like, "Yeah, man, no problem, dude," like not even in a competitive like, "Oh, we're gonna fight" type mode, but as a just a pick your brain type thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not willing to do that, that's red flag for me. You're fake. Like right then, unless you are visibly hurt or injured, that's red flag right there. I'm immediately dismissing you. Now, if I roll with you later on and you just were, just didn't feel like it, and I can see it and I can feel it, my opinion will change, and I'll correct myself, and I'll just be like, "Damn, dude, you really do have some moves. That's awesome."
yeah.
But if you're not willing to prove it, then it's just hearsay.
Well, to be polite, I was just like, well, that's really cool, but I'm not going to go up and tell someone, like, you're not really a black belt or you're not really this belt, because I don't really know.
The only time it's appropriate to really do that is if they're coming into your school, like, acting like they're the shit. If you immediately know they're full of shit and you roll with them and prove it wrong, it's like, that's when you're kind of like, bro, give me that get the fuck out of here. Even if it's like I've seen a video where a guy did that. He took the dude's belt and said, "Get the fuck out of my school."
Yeah, I saw that video.
And you know what?
That was in South Florida.
He was not wrong for that. That's exactly how it should have been handled. You want to say you're the shit? I admire the guy for at least rolling with him, because he could have just said no, my back, and just bitched out. He tried. He still got fucked up and exposed.
School that had a supposed. Did you see that video? It was a UFC school.
The guy that's walking around with just the belt and all that stuff.
He didn't have on a gi on. He didn't have. A gi.
I've seen that video.
And he claimed to be a black belt, and some blue belt just mowed through him, right? And he's like, "Dude, you're not a black belt." And he's like, "Yeah, you don't believe me? He says, "I don't care what you've got. You're not a black belt. You're not a black. You're not." And then they ended up busting the guy out, but
it's like a stolen valor.
Yeah,
with the military.
Yeah, and the jiu-jitsu community is really big on that. Just like they will shred you if they find out.
You will be exposed, and like there's a lot of people who like, but it's only if you're at the point where people are really annoyed with you on the main like stream of the whole thing. Like certain like if you've got like a small school like even here or in some other town, the whole jiu-jitsu community is not really gonna give a fuck about you. If you're like going around world acting like Big Shot and all this shit and making up lies and videos, people are gonna call you out and shit. But when it comes to like like local people,
you start putting videos out there too. You might be you might think you can get away with it, and then you slap a video on the internet, and
then people say they're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm like real close to that. Let me try this dude out." You go there and just blatantly beat the fuck out of him, and it's just like, you're fucking wrong. Why are you lying to people? Like, what the fuck is the point?
Very easy to verify a black belt. I like the photo that I posted today. It's like showed a 4-stripe white belt
and the hawk and the pigeon.
Yeah. Tough guy at the party. That's right. You can't hide it. Right? I think so.
So what about you, Bob? I asked, what do you see Jiu-Jitsu in 10 years? What would you like to see?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of new systems. You asked me what I want to see. It's not up to me, but there's going to be a lot of new systems. I mean, if you just look at the evolution, I've been through so many evolutions. You don't even understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I started in 2003. And God, think of the people before me. I'm nothing. I'm not. But if you just look at my time, I remember, the systems coming in, and I'm trying to think of like it was a super big deal when. The leg lock game came into existence. For me, that was the Eric Paulson revelation when I started cross training at a CSW school, and these guys were into the leg locks. I was like, holy crap, that's an evolution. And then the next thing was Eddie Bravo's game, and then everyone's playing the truck, and then everyone's playing the twister, and everyone's playing the lockdown, and then everyone's playing spiderweb.
Kimura trap system.
Then this Kimura trap system comes up, and then this, the Avalon brothers, and then you've got this
Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah, then you've got
the Mendez brothers.
Yeah, it's never ending, right? You've got the honey hole, so you've got the straight jacket, you've got the triple threat, you've got the.
Having saying all that, all of that shit has been around for hundreds of years. Nothing is new. Nothing can be discovered in jiu-jitsu because it's already happened. Yeah. So people that are saying, oh, well, this is that, it's really just something you put a name on. It's always been there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that understanding right there is what allows you to say, my system is like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu really has a better idea. They have the better philosophy. I agree with Hida and Henner more than I agree with anyone. And this is our system. I'm using this to corroborate the system that I'm in, part of Luis's system. What they did was they took Jiu-Jitsu that's universal. They said this Jiu-Jitsu works for everyone. It has to pass this three-way filter. In Eddie's system, it doesn't work for everyone. In Marcelo's system, it doesn't work for everyone. You have to have this strong legs. You want to play X guard, you've got to have this strong lower. But X guard doesn't work for me. I can't lift you up. I can barely lift up anyone with my legs. You want to play lockdown. You got to be the shorter of the two. Let a 6'8" guy try to play lockdown on a 5'5" guy. It's impossible. It cannot happen. It is an impossibility. So if Eddie Bravo had come up under the Meow Brothers, he may have never won anything. If he had focused on Meow Brothers, which some people would say is a phenomenal system, which it is for them, but only because it fits their body type and it fits their abilities and agilities and dexterities, and it's the game that works for them, and they have a healthy back and they can invert. That game is great for them. The best game for you is to take the fundamentals, and then you just like what happened with Colin. He found this, what he had initially called it a one-trick pony. But then off of that, every time someone defended, he built something else. He tacked it, and then before he knows it, he's got a whole DVD worth of content that is his system. The difference between some people out there is, and I'm sure Colin could put together a DVD. I mean, but here's the difference. Like me, most people don't study their own game. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's 1,000 things that I do that I don't know that I do. The people who go out there and teach, I don't think they came up with these moves. Well, first off, nothing's come up with. We understand that. My point is, they go back and look at something they did in competition where they was just reacting. And they're like, shit, I've never seen that. I rolled over this. That's cool. And then they analyzed what they did, and then they start teaching it. And they can do it because their body does allow them to do it. They look back and they see. If I were to analyze my game, I could probably come up with a whole DVD's worth of content of unique things that I've come up with that work for my body. But if I started selling that system to everybody, you'd be a fool to buy it. I mean,
I get what you're saying.
You should look at everything, right? No. You should look, but I still think that the best jiu-jitsu is taking fundamental jiu-jitsu, do like Bruce Lee says, try everything. I dabble in every system, and I take the pieces that work for me. And my jiu-jitsu is as good as it's going to be. I don't care at this point. I've reached, as a black belt, I reached a point where I can teach myself. Yes, we can improve through instruction. Yes, absolutely. Someone who's been there, that's done that. But at the same time, I have to respect that my body is not their body. And it can also get me in trouble. And really, like the Meow Brothers have a very good point. And if you want to get good, shut the fuck up and train. Just train. Shut up. You want to get really good, shut up and train, which is what Colin said earlier, which is what we all know. If you just want to get good, you just need to come, which is why Nikki is as good as she is, which is why you're going to be as good as you are. Don't blame it on the instructor. Don't blame it. Just keep coming. You're going to be a phenom, right?
Exactly.
We just help you shortcut. Like people like Colin and me, once we've been indoctrinated into jiu-jitsu, and we now we can show you what we figured out. Colin can go, because Colin has a way, I don't care who you are in the world. You could be Craig Jones. Colin could teach Craig Jones something about his leg lock entry. I guarantee it, Craig didn't do it Colin's way. And anyone to think of that differently is a fool. If you think that someone is so good that they can't learn from a lower belt, that person's a fool. If you take something that he's figured out, and he figured that out. I didn't teach him. He figured that out. He took something I did, and he figured out his body worked. And that's why I invite anyone to teach at my school, because I can learn from Nikki, I can learn from you.
But you just learned to be a savage from her, of course.
Yeah, she's a look, man. She earned the name. I kind of gave it to her because Nikki rolls with everybody, like people I don't want to roll with, like legitimately. Like I'm like, God, I don't want to roll with this dude. Nikki's like, who's next? And then she's just like, you see them over there, hair's flying
Should we call
everywhere.
her SSN, Super Savage Nikki?
Man, well, I call her just because she's still a little younger than me. I call her Little Nikki Savage. Between that's what I call her. But she's obviously not going to be little for she keeps getting, and her jiu-jitsu just keeps getting better. She's still young she's still super young in her jiu-jitsu career. Yeah, she's a blue belt. She's at the high end of the blue belt, but she's still going to have major discoveries about her game. She doesn't know that yet. We know that.
Oh, by far, we still have some as well. Like, that's the whole point of it, is the fact that those aha moments never fucking go. I love that, by the way, those aha. Yeah. It never goes away. Like, you will literally, like, be doing the same shit, and you try it from a different angle. You're like, holy shit. Like, damn.
I would put...
It's just consistent, like he marked on earlier. It's consistency. Just keep coming. You'll eventually, even if you're having a bad time, like, you'll eventually get out of it, discover something else, and keep going. That's the whole point of the struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another belief that I have is that, and Luiz says it himself, it's from the mouth of the master. Jiu-jitsu is not perfect.
I hear that all the time.
Perfect. There is no perfect move. It's a constant learning and reshaping and adapting, and you just learn how to. We learn techniques, and that's good, and that's structure, and that's knowledge. But we also learn timing, and that's another thing that only time can give you, right? Like timing is, how much do we do that doesn't even exist? That we're just reacting, but we've learned to counterbalance, right? Like, it's a huge piece of it. Do we have anything else? Anyone have any? I think we're done with the questions. I know Colin he's got crap he's got to do, but anyone else have anything?
Football game to watch.
Anyone have a question for Colin, or you have any cross questions for any of these guys before we wrap up? Anything you wanted to bring up on the podcast, or anything you wanted to ask Colin or you?
Well, I mean, I noticed you guys have open mat. That's obviously open to the students here as well.
Anyone in the association, anyone can come, man. Like, I don't care. Obviously, when Luiz has it, if you're not in the association, you have to pay a mat fee. But if you're in the association, if you have the patch on your back, I don't think there's any charge at all. I think you just come in and start rolling.
Sweet.
That's about it.
Nice. Yes.
What about you, SSN?
I don't really have any questions. I mean, I'm just listening to you guys. You guys covered a lot.
We're so intelligent.
I learned a lot. I mean, honestly, when I'm on these podcasts, I learn a little bit, each time from everybody. Like, maybe if they're talking about jiu-jitsu, I'll learn something else, or maybe I'll go back home and, maybe I'll look this up, or if they're talking about conspiracies. Because, I mean, honestly, like, I look up a few of these things, but I don't look up everything. I don't have the time to just, all the conspiracies and stuff that you guys talk about. But, I mean, I still listen and I still observe. I'm more of a person that likes to observe things, likes to listen. I don't really expand upon anything because I don't want, it's not really supposed to be my opinion. It's supposed to be like the guest speaker. So I kind of just listen and let you share your story.
Got you.
Yep.
True that.
Are you a Jags fan?
Oh, what?
Jaguars.
Yeah.
Duval till we die.
You can hashtag DTWD.
I don't do hashtags. That shit was a pound sign at one point. But yeah.
Let me see. I think we can wrap up, guys. For everyone who joined, thank you for joining. I think this is one of our better episodes. It went really well. Colin, thanks for being here. Look, we're going to get you in to teach a class, right? We're in the talks of that right now.
Yeah, of course.
Because you said you were gonna, and then you never did.
Yeah, I got jobs.
All right. So
I am guilty of bullshit.
I did line up Stewie. Sure. We got Stewie coming in Friday, which is cool. So we're gonna work some takedowns.
Do not listen to the devil's advocate. Wrist locks are for the evil ones. Leg locks are more fun. Break ankles, not wrists.
Oh my goodness.
And Todd would argue with you, though. You know that.
Of course, Todd will argue with me, but Todd is a machine. He is not human. He can run laps backwards faster than I can run forward.
All right. So
See you later.
See you guys later.
Bye, fools.